Am I in real time?
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
you sound good. Okay, I just turned on the stream actually because we have 1 minute to go here, so I haven't actually gotten to the lobby. Hopefully
So
people
I'll
will
I
be.
change
just
my
said
video
hello.
picture.
Nobody's here yet.
I'm going to change my video picture just to see how, excuse me, how quickly. No, I can't do that. Okay, I'll just be
I
here.
mean, Steve, like you look fine. Like you
Okay.
look like you're moving in real time. Like everything's like working properly. It's really surprising, actually.
Yeah, but we've had a terrible experience on this because in terms of our family, my sister fell in the walking through New York Manhattan. She's a Broadway producer. She has a play up for Tony, and she broke her hip.
Oh my
She'll
Oh
be
God.
fine
no.
now. She already
What's your
had the
sister's name?
Cindy Gutterman. Look for Jay and Cindy Gutterman.
What's her
Um,
play?
but she can't go. Excuse me. Her
What's her
play was
play?
the one with Daniel Radcliffe.
Oh, salesman.
Every brilliant. What you can
Every
say
brilliant
hello,
thing.
Nina. Come in here.
Hi.
Hey,
Hi,
Nina.
Nina.
I'm gonna go to the
I
camera.
can't see you, Nina. You look like a palm tree.
There
There
you
you
go.
are.
Now we see you. Oh, what is it? Your sister, Nina?
Every brilliant thing or something. She's up for
My sister, yeah.
they're up for a Tony this weekend, but now she's in the hospital.
Oh my God.
That's
But
horrible. I feel
she
so
didn't she
badly.
didn't think they were gonna win anyway.
They kind of know, believe it or not like the
That's
Oscars,
horrible. I feel
that
so bad.
who's
She
gonna
didn't
win
think they
beforehand,
were
so
gonna
they
win
get prepared.
anyway.
They kind of know, believe it or not.
Oh, whoops. Everybody turn off their sound because we're actually streaming now.
Yeah, I figured that out. I did that
Yeah.
because we
Yeah,
sound
I'll turn up my sound.
We,
sounded
we are
psychotic.
we are actually here, but hopefully we won't have too many people show up, which would be
Better?
Yep. Yeah, sounds great. So yeah. So we have 5 people looks like in the room.
It's seamless.
3 of them are us.
And 3 of them are us. So there you go. Actually, I don't know. Yeah, I guess 3 of them are us. Yeah, I don't
Let's see who's in the
this
room.
the new counting system, by
There's
the way,
5 people
is
watching,
yep.
and all of them are us.
Yeah, so the new system when it comes online for counting will be more accurate in terms of the number of people in and out. The reason that it actually it lags behind in terms of the count is just to conserve system resources. I believe when we built it originally 3 years ago, or whenever they did it, we needed to make
I
sure
don't
that it
hear him.
didn't crap out. So
Well, that makes sense. And you didn't think that you'd be here now.
yeah, for sure, we didn't think we'd be running on this version of it for this long. So yep.
Well, for our few
Okay.
friends who are here, hi everybody. Thanks for joining us tonight. We're here for you if you have any questions.
Yeah, my expectation is that very few people are going to be here just because everybody's been through this now so many times that they know the drill. They don't need
Most
us
of them are on
anymore.
this cruise at it. Most of them are on the cruise.
It would be nice.
Maybe we should do that one day. Oh, that would be great. Have all the speakers come on, pay for them, and be broke.
I think
Yeah,
we need a few more sponsors.
yeah, I think so.
Yes. Well, that's have the Finellis do it, etc. They have, cruises and trips to Italy and Spain,
So the way
Portugal,
that
etc.
yeah, so the way that works is that they work really closely with actual like travel agencies or whatever who can set these things up. So like these people make a business of this, of finding people like him, to actually settle the stuff. Because what does he really need, right? Like a conference room on a ship or something, or
He needs
wherever,
Sure. Yeah.
right?
conference room and AV,
And that's it.
He just shows
So-
up.
Right. So the old school travel agents, the ones who were all completely wiped out and destroyed by the internet, like this is, I think, how they make their living now, right? Like they have these special events that they can coordinate, which is cool, right? So they have that expertise, which is pretty neat. So anyway, not too much going on here, I guess. So Steve, just to let you know, since you've been out of the loop a little bit, so everything's going fine. It's all good. The software is working. All the speakers pretty much they're going to show up, so we're all cool as usual. Yeah, it's
Anybody know I should order anything? I'll be. We're 3 hours. This is like rough, just to understand. We're going across the ocean, so every day is like daylight savings time. It
oh
sucks.
God.
So every day is a 23-hour day. Yet,
I like it.
yeah. Today, for example, we thought we were going to some lecture, and we go there, and everybody's leaving, and we didn't realize that we're supposed to set our clocks ahead. So it's
Oh
like going
God.
through daylight
Oh,
savings 6 times.
Sure.
Rather, it is if you're going to England or France or whatever across on a plane, it really is hard when you have an 18-hour day. But
Yep.
this is kind of like Groundhog Day every single day of daylight savings time.
Yep.
don't you get like a little ship newsletter that they give you every day or something on your TV screen where they tell you
Yes,
stuff like that?
but I'm an idiot. We missed it yesterday.
Uh, yeah, I can get that. I would be that idiot too. I feel your pain. So where are you right now physically? I mean, out obviously in your cabin,
Probably
but on
in
Earth.
the cabin, probably about 800 miles west of the Azores. So
Oh,
those are
wow.
islands off the coast of Portugal. That's where we will be at sea for like 9 days, and eventually we'll be in the Azores, another island, and then Portugal itself. And we'll be flying back to New Jersey to visit family, Father's Day, etc. So it works out great because Nina hates going across the ocean with a plane when you have all these hours. This way, we're only on a plane one time, and we can go back and visit our relatives when we couldn't do
Wait,
that
so you're
normally.
taking the ship back?
No, the ship took us there, and we
Oh,
only have to fly one way.
got
And
it, got it.
flying back is no big deal. I mean, we've all gone to Las Vegas. It's a pleasure. You gain 3 hours. This you're
Yeah,
Yeah.
gaining five
So
or
going
six hours.
going
so
west
as
is better.
as somebody who lives on the West Coast and has to constantly go into horrible Eastern time zones, it is really, really hard. It's
It
like the
is
worst
hard.
thing ever.
Right.
And it's like by the time you get used to it, you're ready to fly home already. So
Yeah.
yeah. Uh,
Exactly why I'm happy to do this.
You're
Yes, you
not getting
picked the
paid for this.
correct way.
Yeah.
Yes.
so let me check something out here. Let me test something while we're here, just so this is going to be meaningless to everybody else, but meaningful to me because I can actually see how far behind the stream is lagging because I actually have it in real time up here on my screen. Okay, so it's showing me 50. Okay, so the stream is
Want me
actually
to,
running about 10 seconds behind. So that's
yeah,
interesting.
I'll raise my
So
hand.
yeah, so you don't have to because I have a clock on the screen, right? We can see like it says
Okay.
206, and so it's actually running, yeah, about 10 or 11 seconds behind. So that's good to know. So not terrible, but
Mhm.
yeah. So you can, I could try to fine tune it to make it even shorter, but that's about as short as I'm usually comfortable doing because if you make the latency too short, you can get stuttering and stuff, and I don't necessarily think we want that. But maybe tomorrow we'll experiment and I'll
No.
make it super short, like 2 or 3 seconds, just to make it a little bit more interactive. So we'll see. Yeah.
By the way, Gretchen and I are not in green, but I don't know if it'll be that way tomorrow or it's no big deal.
Well, we have a little green icon.
That's
I
true.
don't have that.
Yeah, you do. I
Yeah, you
see
do,
it.
Steve. I can see it. And I have something weird. I have a, I don't know what I am there, but it
Well,
ain't green. It's
it looks like a nut,
Well,
like
like some sort
before
of
nut,
hexagon or
right?
something.
yeah.
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 I'm really not seeing a green icon, but tomorrow, as long as we could, check the speakers and if they have a green icon, hopefully.
Yep. Yeah, no, it'll be, we'll keep our fingers crossed. I've been working on the new versions of the software. I mean, is anybody else here? Like, does anyone care? Maybe not. Who else is here?
Well,
A couple
There's,
people are here.
So, Steve and
mhm.
Nina, if you're there, I don't know if you're still in the room. Nina, how are you
Yeah,
not killing
I am.
Steve for
I was what?
jumping on this during your lovely vacation?
I didn't hear the question.
Well, do you have any problem with me working during our vacation?
No, I already booked myself for a really cool lunch tomorrow where we cook at the table with the chef. So I'm happy.
Nice.
And lunch, just to do the math, I'm lecturing at 10 o'clock, which will be about 1 or 2 o'clock for her. So she'll do her lunch and learn how to cook while I'm here. And it's a dead time of the day, so it actually works out well. 10 to, let's say, 2, I can be online, check the rooms, do what we normally do.
I don't need him, if that's what you're asking.
We have friends. We have a lot of friends here, so I'm disposable.
You're my kind of woman, Nina.
You got it, babe.
So, Steve, so you are not going to be here all day long like we normally are. I hope
Well,
to hell the answer is no.
well, 10 o'clock will be 2 o'clock probably. So I could stay like from 2 to 6, something like that, 2 to 7,
Yeah,
and
there's really
and
no need
check.
for you to be here all day. I
Well,
mean, you've
Yeah.
got friends and
it's
stuff.
checking the rooms, number one, you know what I mean,
Yeah.
and also a little bit of support. Definitely for the first 2 or 3 hours tomorrow, it's important because that's when we get most of our questions and most of our support issues. It works out great because by then it's 10 o'clock. I'll do my lecture. It'll be 10. It'll be 4. 10 will be 2. There's nothing happening at 2 o'clock. But we have met. We have some really good trivia people, and we win points. I know I might get a free T-shirt. In fact, but we've
I
won
am
4
very
out of the 5
competitive.
trivia events here.
I would
With
be there for that.
200 people in
Nice.
the room, us 8 people have done well. We had a question, for example, today. It's really tough. Name the 6 countries bordering Mauritania. I mean, some of those things are hard.
Okay, I don't know that I'd get that
No,
one,
no, I would fail that one immediately.
but I love trivia and I would be there
Oh yeah.
with you. So
Well,
absolutely.
they give away some, and some are tough. Some are Beatles songs, things like that. So it's a typical. If they gave all sports and quantum mechanics, I'd be fine.
So, Steve, is the water rough there? Like, have you had any like
No,
problems with that?
I mean, we look at literally we look out, and the only waves we see is the wick of the ship. It's calm as the eye can see. Would you agree, Nia?
Yeah.
Like
That's
nothing.
amazing.
We're in North Atlantic. We're lucky, and with the technology today, they can look at the weather in the future. We're going to have great weather, and it's we wanted to get out of Florida. Florida, I mean, Adam
Yeah,
has lived in Boca. This time of year, it gets brutal. It's 90
yeah,
degrees every day. It might
Dude,
rain an hour in the afternoon,
it's
and then be.
90s now here. So
wow.
But in Boca, it's 90 and humid. It's worse.
Yeah, it's
I come
terrible.
from your area. Um, Here on the ship today it was 72 degrees because I
beautiful.
don't know why, but it was so it's exactly what we wanted to get out a little bit.
Are you
Yeah.
worried about hantavirus?
Nah, I don't worry about that. Actually, a couple of percent of the ship, we got a warning from the captain had some sort of stomach virus, so
Oh no.
wash our hands, etc. But
So, yeah,
I don't think it'd be any.
yeah. Hanta's not your worry. It's Noro that you have to really, really, really worry about. Like that's the
Yeah,
thing that would scare me to
Noro's
death.
common.
Yeah.
Nina
Alex,
actually we had. Excuse me?
I was going to say it isn't neurovirus, but Alex had rotavirus a couple of
Huh.
times
Oh
as
God.
an infant and young toddler, and that is scary stuff.
You know what? You know what they teach you in medical school. They teach you the acronym for rotavirus. What rota means? It's so right out the anus is how you remember it. Because
Oh God.
yeah, it is not nice.
But luckily, this is not like the Icon of the Seas with 7,000 people. It's 700 people, and they're all
Right.
no kids. So everybody's gonna wash their hands and hopefully not give everybody anything.
What is
Right.
your cruise line, Steve?
It's
Silver Sea.
Silver Seas, which is owned by Royal Caribbean, but it's their smaller, more, let's say, exclusive line, a mundane. So it's all adults, and I'd say the population definitely is older, but it's a lot more tame. We don't have to worry. I like kids, but a lot of people don't like kids, and there's no kids on the ship.
Got it. Interesting.
It's called Silver Seas, and it's their line that caters to uh, people, either groups or individuals, whatever. We frankly like it, but we rather go on the big ships because there's just more things to do on the big. Like tonight, they'll have a magician. They've had great entertainment. It's not like top-notch entertainment they'll have on other cruise lines where they have almost Broadway plays and things like that.
Wow.
Yeah, but the food's spectacular. Food's great, but I'm not I try to not eat that well. But good gym, not a great gym. All those things that you want, you have.
I had
Um,
never heard of that one. So that's cool.
yeah,
Sounds
you
like
live on
fun.
Silver Seas. Yeah. The good news for us is that we're lucky. We drive down we got taken down to Miami for an hour from our house. Other people are flying in from all over the country. So for us, it's like in the old days when we took cruises out of Lauderdale or Miami, we'd have to fly down, time it out, maybe go the day before. Now we just
Yeah.
waited for the guy to pick us up and drove us there. If you wanted a picture of what an idiot I am, I forgot my backpack, which had a lot of stuff we needed, and he drove us to the cruise ship. I realized I forgot it. He drove me back home, drove me back to the cruise ship, and I got on seamlessly.
Well, we recently had a cruise port. I don't know what you dock. I don't know what you call it. Open in Philly. I'm guessing that there were cruises here years ago. I've
Yeah.
never been on a cruise. The only one I think I would ever do is a European river cruise or one
Mhm.
from Alaska because you can see the glaciers. I guess I'd rather go to a place and stay than be on a big boat. I would get a little skeevy, like I can't get
Yeah.
off, like I'd feel trapped. But I have friends who are really, really love it and do it every year.
Yeah. I tell you, I have a joke that the ships are getting so big that they're going to start taking the islands and moving them to the ships because they, they're bigger than the islands in terms.
Yeah. I years ago, about 20 years
Know
ago.
that they're on the water. You don't have to know it. You can look outside, but you also don't have to. It's like being in a big city in a building. You
Yeah.
don't feel it moving. There's tons inside.
About 20
It's
years ago, we went to St. Thomas as a family and one with
Mhm.
my parents. And we took uh, the house we rented. The guy had a catamaran and he took us all out on it one day. And in Charlotte Amalie, the port that's there in St. Thomas, we went out on his catamaran and we went by a cruise ship. And we weren't that close to it, but we weren't far away. I mean, it wasn't like we were next to it, but it was close enough. And just looking up, you don't realize how big those ships are until you're in the water
yep.
next to them on what is essentially a raft.
Yeah, they're ginormous.
The guy, you'd hate this, Adam. We have a guy giving a lecture about a lot of stuff. He's very knowledgeable about military. He gave a lecture about the Manhattan Project. And he gave a lecture about cruise ships.
Hmm.
And he does a lot of AI. He showed the Titanic coming into New York Harbor
Oh,
compared to another
geez.
ship in AI, and he's done a whole bunch of other things. And I mean, it definitely looks pretty cool. But the audience is more wowed than I am because I know what he did. It's no big deal.
Well, I don't
That's
know that
funny.
I'd be talking about the Titanic on a
I,
cruise ship,
right?
you
It's like
know?
talking
Yes,
about plane crashes, movies when you're on a
oh,
plane. It's like you don't really want to
but
see that.
but you know what? He put a whole list, literally 100 years of accidents that happened on cruise ships, and it's like the safest thing you could possibly do. 99.99999% of people never. The about 27 people die on a cruise ship. To me, 170 die of a cruise ship every year, but 17 like jump overboard or fall
Right?
overboard. The rest, there's 30 million people going on a cruise ship. They have heart attacks or whatever, and it's an older population, so it's not even considered statistical. But 17 people do either jump or get pushed or whatever, or fall off a cruise ship every year.
Watch
Yikes.
your back, Steve.
That, yep. Well, the rails are pretty high, but you cancel your life insurance before. Yeah, absolutely.
So it looks like we have a few people here right now, and actually, the reason I was typing before was people are trying to register now as well. So it's the usual flow that we get, right? Where right before
Good.
we get this like huge concentration of people who just like need to get in. So it's going to be, I'm sure I'm going to be back and forth the rest of the night now, helping people get in.
As well as tomorrow morning when they really start registering.
Yep.
Yeah,
I
I've seen quite a few. Have you, Gresham, of other speakers putting their pictures up on LinkedIn, etc.?
I actually haven't been on social much this week,
Yeah.
but I did send them out, and we had one speaker who sent me an updated picture and asked for a new graphic, and I
Hmm.
complied. So, yeah, good.
Yeah. I've seen at least four or five, maybe more, of course, including myself. Dr. Quint, Dr. Mina, um, Dr. Butler, and a few others.
Well,
I'm
that's
sure
good.
Dr.
I'm glad
Lamb. Yeah.
because putting those together does take time. So I'm glad that people are using them.
Yep.
Well,
Yeah,
what
and
you
I
could do is put the template in AI and put all the pictures in and tell it make all these at once. And
right. I mean, yeah,
it'll
it's
tell you not come out.
Canva itself can actually do it. You don't really even need AI to do it. It's very similar to the old mail merge feature on word processors, right? From way back in the day, right? That feature's been around since the early '80s, at least, right? Where you can actually take a merge of the data. So, Gretchen, if you've never done it before, I'll show you how to do it. It makes life about 1,000 times
Especially
easier.
you have a template, but her template changes per speaker. She
Right.
has
So what
different
you
times
right,
and
but
different lectures.
right, but the data's structured, right? I mean, I could do it. Next time, Gretchen, just let me do it because I have a spreadsheet of all the actual times and stuff. So you can feed the spreadsheet right into the thing and it just kind of just craps it out. I mean, that's how I do. Like, if you guys got that email that I made the other day of the schedule, like the HTML one of the schedule showing the times and stuff, that was just a direct translation of a spreadsheet that I had. I didn't retype everything. There's no way I was going to do that. I'm way too lazy. So you can just kind of feed that data into the template. So it just makes it so much easier.
Yeah. Yeah, we have a magician we're seeing tonight, and I think he's gonna make me disappear in a few seconds. But I think this is the least amount of people that have actually been in the room, and I'm very upset that Richard Hackman's not here. He's one of my classmates. He's almost at every one of these pre-show shows.
Well, remember, it's still only not even 3:30 on the West Coast.
That's true. And again, most people know how this works now, so they don't really need us, right? And I have to confess, like, this is more for me to get all systems up to snuff, because I don't think people, I mean, we have a couple people in the room. I don't care if I, spill the inside baseball. The actual, every time we set up a CEwire, I have to set up a bunch of stuff on the servers. So it's not like an automatic process. There's a lot of stuff that you'd think that would be automatic that's not. Having this little thing on Friday is good for me because it helps me almost with my timing to get everything done, right? Because I set this up, I set up other parts of the server, and it's just a routine that I go through. If we didn't do this and I had to do it all like 3 a.m. or something on Saturday morning, something would get screwed up. So for me, this is nice, right? It gives me a set time that I have to actually get all this stuff done. So for people, who are ADHD and procrastinate a lot, this is a very useful and helpful thing. So
I was going to say there are other options besides 3 a.m. to get shit done.
That's true. But no, this actually does help me, right? Because if there are any sort of unknown unknowns, right, I can figure it out at least now and maybe try to fix it before the morning. So,
what he's saying is, when I'm on at 9:15 tomorrow Eastern time, he's on at 6:15, but he's been on at 5:15. Portland time. Oh, by the way, I was pissed off for you, Adam. There's a question on the trivia about a Pinot Noir county in California that's famous for its Pinots. No, yes, I said California, and it wasn't Napa Valley. It was some other names, Sedona,
Sonoma. Yeah,
Sonoma. And I referenced, why are you talking about Pinots and not Oregon? But that wasn't the answer to the question.
Yeah, it is interesting, and especially now with the climate changing even more, I kind of wonder, like, what is going to happen to Napa Valley in terms of what they're going to be able to grow, because our Pinot crop has just gotten bigger and bigger. It's funny here, though, like, you get so sick of it, and I think, we were talking on ODwire about how, like, sometimes I think the professors at these schools get bored teaching basic stuff, and they want to do, like, crazy stuff, even if it's bad for their students. I had a Pinot the other night that was a bubbly. It was like a champagne from one of our local wineries. And I'm like, what the hell are you doing? And it's obvious they're bored, right? Because they just do the same stuff over and over again with the Pinots. They're like, you know what? Let's turn this into a champagne.
It's champagne, yeah.
Yeah, I'm like, okay.
I'm going to have to bow and I apologize. I'll be back tomorrow morning at 9:15, which is 1:15, which is 8:15. So I'm going to say goodbye for now.
Awesome. All right, Steve.
Have a wonderful time with
Have
your
a good
magician.
night.
See you later.
Yeah. Thank Elon Musk, because Starlink is amazing. You can see how seamless
it looks. Yeah, you look great. Awesome.
Bye-bye.
Bye, Steve.
I'll keep the video.
Or you can mute it. You should mute your video.
I can help him with that. There you go. So I muted his sound at least. So I muted you, Steve. So, yeah, there we go. Yeah, it's funny actually. So the reason that Starlink works so well for being a satellite is because the satellites themselves are very low in the sky. So you can sometimes actually see them because they're so low versus the old systems where they were geosynchronous, so they were in super high orbit. So that's why it's so much faster. Now I know that I think Amazon's trying to create their own constellation as well. So it's going to be like the new thing of they'll have multiple different constellations, which is a good thing. I mean, for consumers, I guess if they have to be up there, at least they'll have competition. So, when there's another constellation up there, then you can charge, you can't be like Starlink and charge whatever you want. So.
I mean, I guess I see your point that using Starlink and it is good for being out in the middle of nowhere. But I guess for me, $200 for 2 weeks, I guess I'm cheap. I think that's expensive.
It's expensive until you need it, right? Like if I had to go on a 2 week long vacation on like the ocean, I would need this, right? I couldn't do it because I can't necessarily leave for 2 weeks, right? If something disastrous happened to ODwire or CEwire servers, I need to kind of be around at least to look and fix, and I don't know. So yeah, so for me, this would be ideal, but it's not something I think that most people are ever going to adopt like at home or whatever, because, you actually have to have a good, clear shot at the sky to do it properly. So
That's true. And I'm also guessing that because most people aren't paying for it, I mean, the more people who pay for something, you would think the price would come down.
So the problem with it too, though, is that there are only so many people who can use it unless and until there are more satellites that go up. So it's constrained, right? So they have this horrible problem where if it gets more and more popular, what that means is if they don't want it to slow down for everyone, they have to put more satellites in the air, which is not cheap.
Oh,
So yeah,
so
you know,
Steve is going to be hogging the bandwidth tomorrow, is what you're saying.
well, it actually does have a lot of it. So cruise ships, I mean, this is like the ideal application for this, right? And this is how I think Starlink's going to make most of their money. It's not going to be on peasants like us, setting it up at home. It's going to be, airplanes, cruise ships, right? People in extreme environments who are willing to pay whatever to do this. I'm sure this is a moneymaker for the cruise, right? If you actually do the math, if you get people like Steve paying a couple
Yeah.
$100. So yeah,
I'm sure that's not what the Starlink cost is. Everything is marked up on a cruise ship just because they can. I mean,
yeah,
you don't have any other choice.
yep. So, but I mean, if I owned a boat, I would absolutely have Starlink on the boat, no question about it. They have special antennas that they have specifically for those kinds of applications that are more extreme, if you're on the ocean. So yeah, I mean, even just as a safety thing, I would have Starlink on my boat.
Well, yeah, I mean, that is good for safety. Oh, wow. We've got a couple of other people here who have jumped on. I threw out there that asked if anybody had any questions, but hi, everybody. We are here for you if you have any questions. And if you're here, then you've logged in, and that's great news. We're happy to have you.
Let me actually look here. So there's probably not too much I can tell people or say to people that they don't already know. But if you've never taken a CEwire before, like who's here? Anybody brand new? Let me know if there's anybody brand new. I don't think I see anybody brand new to CEwire here, so I'll just be talking to myself. But because people usually have questions about how do I do this, how do I log in, and they actually just did the hardest part, right? Because if they're listening to us, that means they're already here. So that is
I recognize some of the names, but we get so many folks coming in that it's hard to remember all of them. Nobody jumped out as brand new, but I could be wrong. So please let us know.
Yeah, because I'm not seeing anyone here that's brand new. But yeah, so here's the schedule again. The schedule is pretty the same as usual. I think we moved a couple lectures around this time, but for the most part, it's the same as the other two.
Always check your schedule to see what you have taken before. Check your transcripts. And as Adam likes to say, printing out the schedule is always a good thing, and crossing off what you've already taken as a live synchronous course. Because if you take the same class twice, even on demand versus synchronous, you're not going to get credit for it a second time. So why
Yep.
waste your time sitting through a class that you've already gotten the credit for? I mean, if you want to watch it again, absolutely, but do it on demand. Don't use a live time slot for it.
Yeah, and actually, I got a someone reaching out to me, which was kind of fun. Oh, let me A second, sorry, I just have to make an adjustment here. Quick adjustment. Okay. I actually got an email from someone asking about the courses. Have I taken them already? I can't reach my transcript, and that was good because that meant that they actually wanted to look. So I helped them find their transcript. So CEwire.com/transcripts is the place to go. And it'll be all over the site tomorrow as well. So no worries there. So yeah, but it was nice to see that people are actually checking and they know now, like, oh, I don't want to repeat the class. By the way, the new software, the new version of it, 3 years in the making, will actually tell you if you've completed a class before you get involved. So it'll say,
really?
it'll
That
say,
is
oh,
great news.
yes, it'll say, oh, don't do this again unless you really feel like sitting through the class again. And it's actually very important for CEwire itself because it'll also tell you if you've taken the on-demand version of it, right? Because that's another problem that people have. They took an on-demand version of it. Now they're sitting in the live one and they're like, this looks a little familiar, but I'm not sure. This will actually tell you, hey, by the way, dude, you've finished this on demand. Don't do this again because Arbo won't give you credit for it again, right? Just because you take it two different ways. So yeah, the new software is going to have that.
That's a really great feature. So, I think when we bust out the new updated version, that
yeah, it's going to
have some info pimping it out, highlighting what's new.
Yeah, no.
Some of these things are exciting and people want to take advantage of them.
Yep, yeah. We couldn't do it easily with the old software, which was a huge pain in the ass. Pardon my French, but it would have been very difficult and expensive. And expensive in software terms means it would make the server do a lot of work every single time a person came into a classroom. So visualize it. We have 5,000 people hitting up those live classrooms, those 4 classrooms. And for every single person that waltzed in, it would have to look, did this person complete this one way or the other, and then show a message. So it's not that we in the past couldn't have done it, because the software could have, but it would have been so expensive for the server to actually do that calculation every single time someone walked in that it would have necessitated a huge amount of resources, specifically for that moment when everyone is going into a new classroom. So you can imagine how that looks to the server, right? It's not doing much, and then all of a sudden it's doing everything. And then, yeah. And that's really hard to plan for, right? Because the servers right now, the capacity that we have, it costs us thousands of dollars to run on CEwire days, right? On the live days. You're talking about, depending on the size of the crowd, this can be like, $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 just in resources alone from the servers. And so if we actually had to double or triple the capacity just for that one function to show people if they'd completed a class or not, it would be challenging at best.
Well, how are you getting around it with the new software so it isn't taking up all that server power?
So the new software is architected differently. This software itself was never the idea of you being able to take a class more than once was never a concept that the original software had, nor was the idea that an on-demand class is identical to a live class, right? Even though we know they are. So it's just the concept of the software was very different, and that's kind of what the problem is. So, yeah.
Got it.
So it's not that it would be impossible to do. It's that on the existing platform, it would be very difficult and expensive and could lead to reliability problems, right? When 5,000 people, all of a sudden the system's checking against each one in real time to see if they've completed a class.
Yeah.
It could be no bueno if the servers get really crowded. And the most important thing to us and to me, and has been for the last 2 years, has just been stability. I want to make sure that everyone can see the classes when they need to. And not have any problems with it freezing up or doing anything dumb. So that's why it runs the way it does.
Yeah, that's really important. I mean, the bells and whistles and pretty things are all very nice, but you have enough challenge with some folks trying to get in or running really, really old software or having some trouble with that, and they just can't reliably view the video. I mean, that's enough on your plate, let alone having an unstable system. And you have had some little blips now and again, and it wreaks enough havoc that you don't want to have that happen on the regular.
Right. Yeah, so that's why we've erred on the side of stability for the past 2 years or 3 years, and now we're just going to try to do something new, hopefully for next year. I mean, for the not this final CE wires coming up this year, but next year for 27, we're going to be rolling out the new software broadly. So we hope, not knock on wood, unless some disaster befalls us. But yeah.
Well, hello to Richard. You're not late. No worries. We are here for a few hours just because we know people are doing different things. You're in different time zones. So mostly we've just been shooting the bull while we're here. And you are brand new. So excellent. We
So
have a newbie, so we can talk to you all about the things that we have here.
okay,
But
so Gretchen, then let me actually bring it up then so he can actually see, because I know,
okay,
Richard,
take
you
it
don't
away, Adam.
you don't want to see us, because you don't need to see our faces here. But first of all, thank you, Richard, for signing up. So we always appreciate it when new people sign up. It's always fun. You're joining a group of, I guess, around 4,500 ODs so far, so give or take. So the other two events that we did so far this year, it all went very smoothly. Nobody had trouble or couldn't do it. So this is very easy software to work with. You actually achieved the most difficult part of CEwire already. So you should congratulate yourself because you logged in properly. So right now you're in the lobby actually, and this lobby that you're in right now will exist tomorrow as well. If you ever have any problems, you can always come into this lobby and talk to us like you're doing right now. But really, it's just a place where we hang out and help people and do interviews sometimes with people. But this is sort of the more casual spot that people go to. But during the day, you're going to go to one of the 4 classrooms. Now, if you haven't downloaded the schedule, you should take the time to do it. So let me just show you. So I'm going to actually bring it up on the screen so you can see. So this is a downloadable schedule. So if you go to CEwire.com/schedule, you can download it. So CEwire.com/schedule. You don't need to type the rest of this stuff. It'll do it for you. So just CEwire.com/schedule, download the schedule. And if you're like me, printing it out is usually the best idea. Because I know it sounds like, oh, I'm such an old guy, right? That people always tell me, but it's important to me because having a hard copy is really useful because I can cross out, what I've already taken, which is important to know, or I can circle what I want to take. And it shows you at the top which of the 4 classrooms your class is in, and it shows you the time. Everything's in Eastern time, by the way. We standardize on that, even though some of us like me are on the West Coast, but we always standardize in Eastern time. And just what you do is you basically pick the class that you want to go to, right? Just by looking at the schedule. And then inside of CEwire itself, this screen should look familiar to you. This is where you came in today, right? The main menu. Notice you'll see the other classrooms right here. And all you do is click whichever classroom you want. And the course that's supposed to run at the proper time here should start automatically just by being in the classroom that you want. Now you can jump from classroom to classroom throughout the day. That's totally allowed. The only proviso is to get credit for a class, you have to sit through the entire class, right? So don't run away. Once you've gone into a class, right, sit through the whole class hour. So because the system's actually watching you to make sure that you watch the lecture, right? Because that's an ARBO thing. It's an ARBO requirement. At the end of each lecture, there's also a 90-second survey that you have to fill out. And it's basically just asking you, did you like the class? Did you hate the class? Did you like the speaker? Was the speaker not so good? Like, give us your feedback, right? And it's really just for us to know. We don't actually share your name with the speaker or anything. In fact, it's completely anonymous, so your name's not attached to it. But you have to complete the survey in order to get credit. And that's, again, an ARBO thing. That's a requirement. They make us do this. And it's actually quite useful for us. I shouldn't say they make us. I'm glad they do, because that data is very useful. But yes. It's about 90 seconds. So that's right at the end. So you fill that out. And as long as you've watched the entire class all the way through and you've taken the survey, the credit will automatically be applied to your account. And at the end of the weekend, you'll be able to go to your transcript area. So you can see down here, there's a spot for transcripts. There are links to it. And again, we'll be sending you emails after the conference is over to show you how to get back to your transcript and stuff. But we keep your transcript permanently for you on ODwire itself. Long after the conference is done, your transcript will still remain there. And you can always look at it and download it if you need to. It even has individual certificates if you need to print out those PDFs. We also transmit all of your credits to Arbo automatically. And that'll happen the week after this conference is over. So typically what happens is on Monday or Tuesday, I recover from this. And then by Wednesday, I start gathering everybody's credits together and I send them all over in a gigantic electronic batch. You're talking about tens of thousands of hours. So I look over the data to make sure that everything looks normal. And that goes over to Arbo, and then it takes them about another week to post all the credits. So the whole system might sound a little complicated, but the reality is it's very streamlined and very automated. And if you have any trouble, we're always here to help or to fix things if things go wrong. So hopefully that makes some kind of sense. I never want people to feel like, they messed up and they're not getting credit, or they sat through something and didn't get credit and what's going on. The automated system handles, 95% or more, probably even more than that actually with the number of people. We have 99% of cases properly in terms of awarding credits automatically. But if you do have a problem, we're always here. You can always send an email to support@CEwire.com, and usually that goes actually straight into my inbox, and I can take care of anything that might have gotten missed. So never feel like, you're going to be stranded on an island and not know what to do.
Wow, that was like CE Wire 101. Richard, if you have any specific questions, put them in the chat and we'll be happy to address them. But as Adam said, we're here in the lobby throughout the day, both Saturday and Sunday, for when people have questions. You can always pop in here. A couple of quick tips which might help. Although you can watch CE Wire on a phone, we don't recommend it because you will be kicked out when your screen goes dim because your phone wants to protect its battery life. So it will likely boot you out of the room, and that's frustrating. And then it can also fool around with your ability to stay in the room long enough in order to receive credit. So even though it's possible, we always recommend watching on a desktop or a laptop or a tablet, but a tablet is put together similar to a phone. So you got to make sure that the window you're watching on is active, or else it will boot you out. And plus, it really defeats the purpose of having interactive conversation with the speaker during the talk, because you'll be able to text the speakers, communicate with them just like you communicate with us here. And that's really, really hard to do on a phone, to see the talk and then see the chat window. So just for an overall better experience, we really recommend against using a phone to access anything. And the other big caveat, make sure you don't have more than one tab with the conference open. So don't log into room 1 and then open a new tab and then log into room 2, or don't start watching, say, at the office and then go home and try to log in again to watch additional classes without logging out at the office, because the system sees that you're logged in 2 places and thinks that you're trying to game the system and get 2 credits essentially at the same time. So avoid using a phone. Make sure you don't have more than one browser window open. Those are the 2 big things that we like to suggest.
Yeah, and you're absolutely right. And it's funny actually. So the phone falling asleep thing is a really interesting problem. So it's not even a CE Wire problem thing, which I find really fascinating. It's a technology thing. It happens actually even with major platforms, right? Like I know I watch a lot of baseball, and the MLB app engages in the same behavior as CE Wire does, right? Because it's just the way phones are made. Where if you're like watching the MLB app and you're watching a game and you try to go do anything else, right? It will actually pause that tab, right? Because it thinks, oh, the tab's in the background. He's not actually watching anything. I'm going to freeze this thing. So after a while, it'll just stop running. And then when you flip back to the tab, it'll sometimes restart like where it left off. But in the world of in baseball, it's annoying because now you're 10 minutes behind everyone else, right? So you don't know what the hell's going on. But in CE Wire, it's critical because if you start falling 10 minutes behind, you'll never get enough time at that class to actually get credit for it because the next class is going to start automatically, right, at the top of the hour, or whatever it is. So
Right.
that's why it's critically important that you can't let those tabs fall asleep. You have to keep it maximized, keep it in front of you. And it's much easier to do on a desktop, right, or a laptop than it is on a phone, where your phone is constantly trying to fall asleep. It's what it loves to do, right? Because that's how Apple brags about 19 hours of battery life or whatever the hell it is. So yeah, that's my only recommendation to people. If you find that you're not getting credit automatically when you think you should, many times that is because your phone fell asleep during a lecture. So anyway,
And
that's
if you're not actually watching the lecture when it goes to, I mean, that's the whole reason it goes to sleep. If you click over to a text, for example, the video will go to sleep and you won't see that. You won't know that. So it's
yeah.
always best avoid the phone. And if you must use it, you can't use your phone for anything else. You can't check a text. You can't look at an email. You can't take a call if anybody uses phones for calls anymore. Um, but yeah, so
So
if you want to
I'm
get the credits, stay away from the phone.
I mean, I'd be a hypocrite if I said I didn't do the same thing, right? I always have any number of devices in front of me, but that's my advice to people: is if you're going to be multitasking, get a separate device, right, and just have it with you, which is what most people do, right? They'll be watching on a computer, typing stuff, interacting, but they'll also have an iPad open to the side of them, right, doing other stuff. Some people actually keep it open and download the handouts. So you'll also see in each classroom, I can't show you right now because nothing's actually running, but in each room that you're in, at each lecture, beneath each lecture, there'll be a link to handouts for each lecture that you're in. So what some people will do is they'll actually download the handouts and put them on a different device. So they'll have the handouts in addition to the lecture running. They'll have the handouts on another machine, typically an iPad. So that's kind of how it goes.
We just blabbed on for a good long while there, and I don't even know if poor Richard is still here listening to all of us blab. So I hope that that was helpful. And if you have any specific questions about the schedule, about making sure you have your credits or taking the survey, any of those things, just pop them in the chat window and we'll be happy to answer them.
Yep, and Gretchen, you'll be happy to know I just recorded actually that little spiel that we did. So
That's smart.
so we don't, if someone asks, we can play it back. So
I think that might be a good little clip to have handy and just throw up now and again, or to have at the ready, even throw it up on YouTube and we can offer that to people. Here is CEwire 101.
yep. Yeah, it's probably not a terrible idea.
Oh yeah,
Okay.
Richard's still here. Thank you for sitting through all of that blather from us. I hope you found it helpful. And since this is your first time, it would be great to hear some feedback of what you like about CEwire, but more importantly, what you don't like. We have people who say that this is great, we love it, and we'll take the kudos, don't get me wrong, but specifics are always helpful. What do you like about it? What don't you like about it? That helps us give you a better conference. So welcome, Richard, and thanks for popping in and getting
Right.
the 411 on CEwire.
And Richard, since we have you here as a captive audience, we
He
always
says bye-bye.
we always love having a captive audience. And we have another person here saying thank you for the
Hi,
help.
Song.
And another Song, thank you. So I also want to mention, for the new folks who are here, or if you're watching this on YouTube, since I'm going to record this again based on Gretchen's advice, since many people don't show up to this Friday show, I want to just underscore, Gretchen was mentioning giving us feedback, like feedback at the end of the lectures and so forth, or feedback just generally. If you want to shoot us an email and yell at us and insult us, that's great too. Because the idea behind CEwire is that this is your show. In a very real sense, we don't really, we have a couple sponsors of the conference, but by and large, CEwire is by and for the doctors that participate in it, right? We could have 0 sponsors and the conference would still work exactly as it is right now. Because this is literally your conference. We're not, pay for play, or we don't, as you all know, right? So a lot of CEwire is sort of, you don't want to know how the sausage is made, but it's like a lot of it is, with grants and with all other stuff, or companies will come in and sponsor, but they kind of have an expectation that you're going to kind of cover the topics that they want. We're not like that at all. It's the opposite. All of our topics are in the can before we even approach any companies to see if they want to do any sort of sponsorship. So the topics at the conference are made up of topics that you want to see. Like literally, it's the direct feedback of the people who take the conference each year. That's how we make up the schedule for next year. If there are people you want speaking, we try to get them in. If there are topics you want, we try to get them in. If there are topics that you hate, we start to minimize them. So if you've taken CEwire over the last 10 years, I am absolutely certain you've noticed that certain kinds of content have gone down, right, over time. Gretchen, I'm sure you've noticed, right? So for instance, I'll be very specific, like contact lenses, right? In the beginning, we had a lot of contact lens classes. Now, it's definitely gone down. So we try to adjust based on what people are telling us they want. And so it's always really helpful to us. So please give us all the feedback you can, because this is, in a very real sense, your conference.
Well, and you'll also be getting a survey that we will shoot out to attendees because we want that specific feedback. So please answer the survey when we send it to you. And this is completely separate from the surveys you're taking at the end of each course, because that's essentially a course eval, just like you would get at any in-person conference. So yeah, we want to know these specifics. And this info really does drive what happens in the next year's conference. Because remember, we created what you're going to be seeing this weekend. All of that was put together about 9-10 months ago, because it's the same topics that are run throughout the year with our 4 live events. So hearing from you is really what allows us to make changes and tell us what we want to see, and we want to make it great for you because we want you to come back and we want it to be interesting for you. I mean, that's really the goal here. We don't want people to, sit through something dry, dull, and boring and have no interest. If you have a great topic, let us know. If you've seen a great speaker, let us know.
Yep. Yeah, we're always open to new speakers. That's another important thing too. I guess the Speakers Bureau of CEwire is huge now, right? It's hundreds of speakers that we have, but obviously we can't have hundreds of speakers each year. So we rotate through a lot of people, right? We'll have, some people who have been with us from the beginning who they perennially come back, but other people will rotate in and out. And some speakers tell us like, hey, I don't have any new content, right? Because the other part about CEwire that's important is we insist that the speakers give us new content each year. We don't want them to just do a lecture that they've given somewhere else. And we want new stuff all the time. And sometimes our speakers are like, yeah, I've done it, but I don't have anything new this year. So I'll just, peace out for this year and I'll come back next year. And we're always like, fine, sure. Come back when you have something new. That's great. So that's how we keep it fresh, right? We always want to have speakers who give people the things that they actually want to see. So.
And those new talks are really important for another reason too, because we know that people go to many different conferences throughout the year, whether it's getting something online similar to what we offer, whether it's going to Academy or AOA or Vision Expo, SECO, or a local or state meeting. The reason why all of our courses are new is because you know that you can take the classes here and not worry, oh shoot, did I take this class by Dr. X
right.
4 months ago at another conference? You don't have to worry about that. Everything here is completely brand new. Might be similar, might be the same speaker with a very similar topic. And according to Arbo, that's totally fine as long as the talk itself is different. And we make sure of that.
And in fact, I always ask our speakers when they're coming on, you can see I just put up the different topics at this weekend's show on the screen. I always ask our speakers, hey, like I know that, you've given a similar talk before, but what I'd like you to do is give it, as we say, a wobble, right? Give it something a little different and also add the latest information, the latest stuff that's up to date. Try to get it like literally as close as you can to when this thing is recorded. So we'll have fresh information for people that's going to be, fresh for as long as possible. So you can see many, and some of these topics, obviously, of course, don't change very much, right? So you see we have an entire track devoted to narcotics. You can see with a little red thing here. Now, there's only so much that changes, right? However, I do ask them, even in the narcotics track, I ask them, hey, can you just make sure that when you put like stats in there, right? Like what's going on with this pandemic, right? Of people dying of overdose. Can you please just update your stats to get the very latest stuff that you have? So even though you've given this talk before and you're going to be doing something that's substantially similar, at the very least, update us as to what's going on this year. So that's what we try to strive for, at least in those topics where things really don't change very much. Right, you can see like Ben here. He's like, "Hey, Adam, you want me to do the narcotics one again?" I'm like, "Sure, but can you like go back and just tell me what's going on this year?" So yeah, that's kind of the idea. And lo and behold, by the way, things are actually happening in 2026. Not that anyone wants to know right now. You can wait for Ben's course if you want to hear the the shocker. It's actually getting better. The epidemic of overdoses has actually improved over the past year or two.
Spoiler alert.
Spoiler alert, right? But it's So those are the kinds of things that, like, I would hate to have somebody present something that for a lecture that they wrote that was 2 years old and they didn't get any of this new information. That would drive me crazy, especially for something like that. So that wouldn't be fair. So
Well, and that's something that's really timely too, that it's talking about the opioid epidemic. I mean, there's so much out there for somebody to have 2-year-old information would actually kind of suck. And they would be a pretty crappy lecturer if that's what they were relying on. And some things really don't change that much. I mean, like, for example, some of the human trafficking information that, unless there are new tactics or new things to watch for, that isn't really going to change. Or some of the narcotic lectures in terms of checking off your courses for your DEA, some of that isn't really going to change that much year to year. But I know Ben puts a lot of work into his talks and making sure that he has things updated. And the beauty of the way our conference is set up is that speakers can chime in on the chat with additional stuff. Somebody might have a question about something and it's going on in the talk, which is pre-recorded, and the speaker can say, "Hang on, after this part, I will give you additional information that has come out since I have recorded this talk." So that's really cool that
yep,
the speaker can share that while the talk is going on. That's one of the
and
things that I like the most.
yeah, so that's kind of fun because the speaker can give you their undivided attention. But what also is cool, I'd forgotten to mention this. So if you've never actually taken a CEwire before, each lecture, in addition to having handouts that can evolve over the course of the year if the speaker wants to update them, each lecture has its own spot on ODwire itself where the lecture actually lives, where you can interact with the speaker after the lecture's over, right? We have this thing here, the private discussion forum. And you'll only actually see that forum if you're registered for CEwires, right? So if you're listening to this on a Friday night, you're here at CEwire already, you're obviously registered. But this is going to be invisible to everyone else, right? But to you guys, it is visible. And what you can do is then see each thread. And again, this is linked to the actual lecture. You'll see it at CEwire tomorrow. Each lecture has its own spot where you can talk to the speaker. So if something has changed with headaches, right? Dr. Friedberg can update you here inside of ODwire itself, right? So we see here this person's asking a question about a specific topic that he actually spoke about in the lecture, so you can get clarity here, right? And if you don't want to ask publicly, you can even just click on the person's name, right? And you can send them a private message, right? So the conversation can continue long after CEwire is done, which to a lot of people is a huge benefit. I watch what goes on in terms of the traffic volume in privately messaging. A lot of people aren't comfortable necessarily asking questions out in the open like this with other people who have taken classes before, but they absolutely will reach out to the speakers privately. And the speakers do not mind that at all. In fact, they have an expectation that people will. And I've had speakers tell me that they really enjoy it actually because it at least means that somebody's paying attention. Right?
Well, it's nice to have that conversation so that they're not just yelling into the ether, so to speak, that somebody is there and hearing and wants to engage and have a conversation about it. And I think, just like I was asking for feedback earlier, knowing what attendees have questions about that helps the lecturer next time with another lecture or offering additional information. So please take advantage of that, because you won't find that at any other conference in person or elsewhere, a way to have these conversations with the speakers long after the conference is over.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, that's sort of the nice part about integrating all this stuff together with ODwire, is that this is sort of like a living history, right? Because this stuff is never going to go away. As long as ODwire exists, this stuff will exist, as opposed to other conferences where it's kind of a one and done thing, or if there's an archive, it might just disappear or be temporary. Or I know some people try to monetize their old archives sometimes, which is just like, oh no, don't do that. You paid for this once already. Come on now. So yeah, so that's kind of how it works. So, I probably should have made a lot of this stuff clearer. To be honest, I think we take this for granted, all this functionality, because we live with it every day. But for people who haven't taken a CEwire before, this is all brand new. And one thing that I've done an absolutely atrocious job of is really communicating all of this clearly. So I'm very glad that we had some folks show up tonight on a Friday night to, learn about it.
Well, it's easy to not really understand how somebody else might find something interesting or different or have questions, because it makes sense in your head. So it's hard to understand what might not make sense for others. But with that said, I know one thing that you really work hard on, Adam, is making sure that everything is as easy to use as possible. And I'm not saying dummy proof, because nothing is dummy proof. And people coming here to take classes aren't dummies. They're just
Right.
unfamiliar with some of the things that we have here. But you work really hard to make the interface as easy as possible. So
Well,
I think that's really important.
Well, that's by design, right? Because of the history of ODwire and the way it started, right? And our unfortunately, one of our our founders, the inspiration for this site, right? My father, who started this thing with me 20 odd years ago, right? He would freely admit that he was not a tech savvy person.
It was not, and he
And
was very clear about that.
And he told me from the beginning, because this was really his idea. He wanted to do this, and he wanted to do it with me. And I couldn't have been more grateful for the time I got to spend with him over the past couple of decades, right, working with him on this project. It was he really was the motivating force, and I just translated what he wanted into action, right, because I had a certain set of skills, and he knew I did, and he thought this would work. I thought it would flop, but there you go. It's the old man was
Wait,
always
Adam,
right.
are you saying that you have a very particular set of skills?
Yes. So don't mess with me. No. So yeah. So it was. I thought this would fail from the beginning, but he was a very persistent guy, and he had a real vision, but he just had no actual way to translate it into reality. And I just helped him with that over the years to make it into this thing. But to do it, it had to be simple enough for him to use. And that was always the key goal, right? Make it simple enough so that Paul could navigate it properly. And he even administered parts of the site as well, right? So it had to be simple enough that he could even run it himself. So yeah, that's why the interface is the way it is, and why some people are like, well, why don't you modernize it and do all this other stuff? And I'm like, no. It looks this way for a reason, right? It had to be as simple as possible. Functionality took precedence over everything else, and that's why it is the way it is. So, yeah.
Well, I think you did a good job with that.
Yeah, I mean, it was trial by fire, right? You just learn what works and what doesn't, and you get yelled at enough by the old man here. He wasn't shy, which was good, right? He's my worst critic. It was great because he would tell me like, "Hey, this sucks. Like, this doesn't work properly. Fix it. If I can't figure it out, nobody else can either. What are you doing?" And a lot of times he was right. Yep. So, yep. So, yeah, that's kind of where we're at, I guess.
So I think we have about the same people. Maybe one new person has jumped in, but anybody have any specific questions or comments about how to access the classes tomorrow, or how to get your credit, what to do afterward, anything like that? We are absolutely at your service here, so don't be shy. Throw a question in the chat.
Yep. So I can run through it one more time again for people who might have just arrived here, or maybe I'll put this up again on the site somewhere so they can see it. So again, you go to CEwire.com, you click login, right? And it's right up there in the upper right, or if you scroll down here, it's down here. I color coded it actually, so it's red, so people can find it easily. So once you go in, then you get to CEwire itself. Actually, I'm already logged in here, right? And once you log in, you get to this page. And obviously, if you're watching me right now, you found this page already because you're here listening to me on a Friday night. And then you just pick whichever room you want to go to. And if you don't know what's going to be playing, you just click on the live schedule link down here. And that'll just pop open a new link for you to show you what's going to be playing in each classroom. Again, all Eastern time. Everything at CEwire will always be in Eastern time. So that was the question somebody asked me right from the beginning, and they're like, "What time zone?" And I'm like, "Oh, right, I probably should show that." So everything's in Eastern time. And again, for folks on the West Coast, I don't mean to discriminate because I'm on the West Coast as well. But what I found works better is that it's easier for us folks on the West Coast to translate to Eastern time. People on the East Coast screw this up endlessly, and I think it's just because most people live on the East Coast, so they're not used to it.
I always screw it up.
Whereas those of us out here, this is like second nature because you have to do it all the time. So that's why everything's in terms of East Coast. So anyway, so you look up what class you want, then just pick the classroom that you want to go into. That's as simple as it gets. The system will watch that you're there. And if you just sit through the entire hour of a class, it'll mark you, check, you were there. And then if you fill out the survey at the end, check, you've done both things, it'll automatically issue you a credit. That credit will eventually appear on your transcript, which you can click on right here to get to your transcript. Those transcripts, again, are permanent. So we set up a thing called the Transcript Center, or Virtual Event Certificates and Transcripts, I guess we called it. But this lives inside of ODwire itself, right? So it's permanent. So even if the CEwire 2026 is over, all the stuff still lives here. You can see we've gone as far back as the NORA conference from 2021. So people, if they need to, can reach back and grab their old transcripts and their old certificates if they need to print them, right, as a PDF, if they get audited or something, or for whatever reason they have a need to access their old certificates. They don't have to ask me. They can just come right in here, right? So this will always exist, CEwire.com/transcripts. Always going to be here. And it'll always get to this page. And then you just click on the conference, and then it'll bring up your transcript list. So, yeah. So
Easy
that is the
peasy, lemon squeezy.
Yep, it couldn't be easier. And again, there's a link to the forum discussions, handouts as well. There's this will link basically to all of them, so you can download them one by one. But you'll also see links to each handout at the class that you're at. There'll be links for handouts and stuff. So. The other important thing, if you've never taken a CEwire before, is that people help each other, right? So every classroom has a chat that goes on as you're in there, and you're going to find that you'll get a lot of interaction with other CEwire conference goers. So if you're having problems, 9 times out of 10, before Gretchen or me or Steve jump in to help you, somebody else will have helped you, right? Somebody else who knows the conference inside now will tell you exactly what to do and how to do it. And that's really nice because, we have... Like I said, I think we have 4,500 people so far for this one. So that's a fair number of people. So in your classroom this go around, it's likely you're going to have between 500 and 800 people with you. So there'll always be people there to help. That's kind of nice.
Yep, totally agree. Yeah, it is a nice community feel that when somebody in a classroom says, "Oh, I've had X problem," that people jump in to help. So yeah, It is nice.
Yeah. So yeah, and that's about it. And again, we're always here to help. If you have a problem, when this is all over, we're here to answer questions. Support@CEwire.com always works. That actually goes straight into my inbox. So you'll be hearing from me if you're right there. And it's funny because people always ask too, how do I do that, right? This sounds crazy. So we have, to give you a sense, twice the number of people that show up to Vision Expo come to CEwire. How do I deal with all the support problems? And it's well, people don't really have that many problems usually. So there's a certain volume of them, but it's not so bad that I can't handle it myself. And I actually like being able to hear from people because then I know what's going on directly. Like I can see where the problems are, right? If someone's having a real issue, I know, and I can try to make it better, right? The alternative would be to outsource the support, right, to who knows who, or get an assistant here who can do it, right, and things like that. But I'm like, nah, I don't think so. Because if our support burden got so huge that I couldn't handle it, to me, that would mean that we've done something terribly wrong, right? Because this is supposed to be self-service for a lot of the stuff. And if we reach a point where it's not self-service, like honestly, something has gone tremendously wrong and I want to know about it. So that's why I don't mind doing support myself.
I think that's helpful, Adam, that you're a real person who is answering these questions and people aren't getting some bot who's answering. I mean, I think it's what makes CEwire feel real.
Well, I mean, it's also, there's nothing more infuriating to me than a chatbot. I just can't do it. It drives me crazy when I get one. I mean, okay, so no, actually, number one on the drive me crazy, a phone tree. Don't ever, don't ever make me press one or whatever else. Like, don't do that to people. It's so rude. So that's why, phone support's not something that I even really offer. As you'll notice if you've, signed up for this thing and you got in their seats and stuff, I don't try to list phone numbers too frequently, and there's a reason for that. It's just the worst way of doing things and it's frustrating for everyone. But in terms of chatting, if we ever do something with a chat like we do during the live event, you get real humans because we can handle the problem better and faster. So, yeah.
Yep. Anybody, I see a couple of new names in here, I think, of folks who are here. Let us know if this is your first time coming to CEwire. We'll be happy to give you a quick overview, the lay of the land, and we're also here to answer any questions you have about getting to the classrooms tomorrow, accessing your transcripts, getting your credits over to Arbo. We're here. That's why we're here tonight. So first, thank you for being here and happy to answer any questions you might have.
Yep. So yeah, we'll so it's funny actually, my watch just went off. People are trying to call me. So this is again after I just said don't call me. So yeah, so so here's the hilarious part. You notice in the receipt I don't ever put my phone number or anything like that. But because I'm the COPE administrator, guess what appears on people's certificates? Because it has to, right? And I think that's how people find my number a lot of the time. So yeah, they try calling, but it's hard, right? Because I do want to talk to people, but I just can't. There's just literally not enough time with 5,000 people at the conference. Again, visualize 2 Vision Expos put together, because that's what this is in terms of the number of people. It's impossible to serially talk to people, especially as the conference approaches or on the day where we're all sitting here together in the lobby. It is impossible for me to do anything on the phone. Right. So yeah. So I don't want people to feel like I'm ignoring them or anything like that, but it's impossible to do.
Oh, Melissa just messaged. Hi, Melissa. You're a first timer. Thanks for being here tonight. And you've just crossed or I guess, what was the word you use? Jump the biggest hurdle because you've logged in, and that's the hardest thing to do is make sure that you're logged in correctly. You're here. You've got it. You're in the right place. And I'll send you over to Adam now because I think you've got this down pat.
All right. So Melissa, I'll give you the spiel again if you didn't hear me do it before, if you just came in, about what to do at CEwire and how to do it. So again, don't worry so much, about the technology itself. The idea is that it's supposed to be super easy, right? You just did the hardest part. You logged in, you're at CEwire. That first screen that you got to, wait, let me put it up here again. That first screen that you made it to right before you got into the lobby here, this one, that's going to be here tomorrow as well. And all you need to do is pick whichever classroom you want to go to, whatever you're interested in actually watching. So print out your live schedule. You can see a link to it right down here if you haven't gotten to it yet, or just CEwire.com/schedule. So take a look at it, figure out what you want to take, bring it with you to the conference, excuse me, and then just go into whatever room you like. So Perfect. Okay, so I just went into room 3. And appropriately, this is Steve's lecture. So in the classroom, as you can see here, it's showing you a few important things, right? Like when the class is going to start. It's showing you the chat room on the right side of the screen. That's where you'll chat with us and with the people who are taking the class. There are going to be links to this post-course survey at the bottom, handouts, and the lecture discussion thread on ODwire. Remember that to get credit for a class, you have to sit through the whole thing. And then at the very end, take the post-course survey, which is like a nothing 90-second long, tell us how much you loved it or how much you hated it. So I'll look at Steve's right now. So this is Steve's survey. I don't know if it's going to let me take it now, actually, because, the conference isn't really running. But let's see.
Well, it's just mainly a course eval, like you get at any other conference you attend.
Right. Should I give Steve a bad grade here? Let's see.
This class sucked. The speaker was horrible.
Well, sure, I'll use it. Sure, Steve. All right, and then you can tell us what
you'll know to toss this one out.
Yes, I'll write something snide so I'll know it was me. Okay, but anyway, so this is just the survey. What did you least like about it? So you can go on and on about what you liked and what you hated about it, and any suggestions for improvement, right? So, and that's all you really need to do. And did you feel the content was, too just right, too advanced, too basic, right? So once you get good at this, like literally it takes like 90 seconds or less to fill out. Sorry, Steve, bringing your ratings down. I'll obviously toss this one for him, and that's it. So once the survey's done, you can close the survey window because, as you noticed, it popped open a new window for you to take a survey. That's actually intentional so that you can close the survey tab, boink, and you're back to the classroom. So that if you wanted to take the next class in this classroom, all you'd have to do is sit here, right? And it should automatically start when the next class starts. Now, if you find that it doesn't automatically start the next class and you're looking at your schedule and you're like, hey, there really is supposed to be a class right now, all you have to do is hit the refresh button on your browser just to make 100% sure to force it to refresh. But most times it works fine and you don't have to hit refresh. But if you find that it's not advancing, just hit refresh. If you want to go to a different classroom, just hit the back button right here on the left, on the upper left. The back button will always be there. And you'll get back out to the main menu, and then you can just pick a different classroom. So that's kind of how CEwire works. I mean, it's very straightforward. The interface really couldn't be simpler.
2 pieces of advice, Melissa. One is watch on a laptop or desktop just because it provides for a better experience for you to see the talk and then access the text chat. It'll look just like it does here in the lobby when you're in the rooms. And if you're watching on a phone, it's really, really difficult to be able to make out what the slides are showing, and you can't really access the text chat. And that kind of defeats the purpose of what we're offering here. Another thing to remember is if you do happen to watch on a phone, you can't use your phone for anything else, because anytime you navigate away from CEwire to, say, read a text, answer a call, check your email, then your phone will pause the video in order to preserve the battery. And unless you go back right away and restart it, it might make you restart from the beginning. It just gives you all sorts of problems. And your phone is doing that in order to preserve the battery. And our system knows when you're watching the video and when you're not. So if you're watching on a phone, you need to make sure that that's all you're doing and you're keeping that screen active. And the video will eat up your battery. You need to make sure that the screen doesn't dim and go to sleep, because then you won't get your credits, and then that defeats the purpose of you being here. So tip number 1 is to try to avoid watching on a phone, just to avoid problems in the future with getting your credits. And the other piece of advice is don't have CEwire windows open in more than one place, or have more than one window open. So if you're watching at the office and then you go home, you want to make sure that you close down and exit out of CEwire at the office before you go home to watch. Or if you're not going anywhere else to watch, don't open another browser window with CEwire on either the same device, a different device, because again, you're logged in and our system detects when you're there and when you're not. And the system also knows if you're trying to be in two rooms at the same time, it says a no go, no go, can't do that. So you won't get credit for either or both of those classes. So those are the big tips. Only one window open and avoid watching on a phone if you can.
Right. And in fact, the reason that we do it that way is based on Arbo's feedback. So when we first launched the system, and remember, CEwire is now, it's been here for 11 years or something. We've been doing this a long time. When we first launched, it had none of that protection. And so we'd have multiple tracks running, right? Multiple classrooms. And you could actually go into both. And crafty people thought, hey, look at this. I can get 2 credits at once. I can be in 2 places at once. And Arbo looked at us like, you really need to do something about that. And that's why the software now, if you try to do that, have 2 tabs open of different classrooms, it'll actually issue a warning and say, hey, you can't do that. Close one of these things, right? Because you're only one person. You can only take one class at a time. So that's why we do it that way. Again, a lot of the system is built based on Arbo's requirements, right? We listened to what they wanted and built it into the system. That's why it works the way it does. We wanted to stay as close to the rules as we could because we didn't want to, offend them or run afoul of their rules to the best of our ability. So.
Right. Boy, that was another quick run through. Melissa, how'd we do? Do you have any questions? Was anything not clear? And she probably said, is like, I'm not listening to these folks blabber.
Yeah, I know we're going on, we're going on and on and on as we do.
It looks like we have a couple of other new names in here. So welcome to anybody who has just joined us. We just ran through what you need to do for what you need to know how to get started if you're new. So if you missed any of that, let us know. Or if you have any specific questions, just let us know. And we are happy to answer any and all of them. But we're here for you tonight and you got here. So that's the biggest thing. You got logged in and that was the biggest thing that you need to do. And you'll be ready to rock and roll tomorrow.
Yep, because you logged in, that's the hardest step. You're in the system, it's working, and you also have a chat window open. So those 2 things are really important, right? Because as long as that chat window is open, you will have help, not just from us. You will have help from hundreds upon hundreds of people who...
Whether you want it or not.
Whether you want it or not, they will be there to help. And you can just type in the chat if you're having a problem, and people do. So it's really great because people help each other out as well. So yeah, you did the hardest part. In fact, during the mornings, Saturday mornings, you'll notice, like, if you ever come into the lobby here, I'm constantly, my head's going up and down because I'm on a second computer helping people via email to try to get them to log into the computer, right, into the system, because they haven't gotten that far to get to the chat, right? So they're even pre-chat. So I have to actually they reach me on email, and that's where I have to help them. So the more people that can actually log in properly, the happier I am. That's why we do this on Friday night. One of the reasons is because we want people to be able to test their account and make sure they can log in okay. So tomorrow morning, they can just, hit the ground running and not worry. So, yeah.
Adam, I just noticed what we've got here on this screen, that apparently I live within your system. I don't have a home.
Oh, yeah. Oh, that's interesting. Yeah, your caption got changed. I'll change that for tomorrow.
I don't care. I just thought it was funny.
You live inside of ODwire.
Melissa has a question about the survey. You can do either one when you are in a classroom.
Wait. So not either one. So Melissa actually, no. So to be very specific, the survey will pop up on the right side of the screen. So yes. On the right side of the screen, let me actually bring it up again. Why am I talking and not showing? Right, this is terrible of me. Okay, so on the right side of the screen here in the chat, about 5 minutes before the end of the lecture, you'll see at the top this will change and it'll say, click here to take the post-course survey. Right? Mm-hmm. So it'll be right there, or it'll be down here always at the bottom left. So you don't have to leave. You should never really have to leave the classroom just by clicking. Most people actually use the one up here when it appears, because some people get nervous actually. They're like, if I don't see it up here yet, it doesn't exist. This one that Adam puts down here, that doesn't mean anything. I'm going to wait till it's up here. But the reality is these 2 are the same. But a lot of people wait till the last part of the lecture, the last 5 minutes, when this actually does appear up here with a link to the survey, and that's when people take it. Yeah. So yeah, this will all be crystal clear. Oh, and by the way, I missed. See, I'm always missing things. If you forget to take a survey, or you miss a survey, how could I forget this? So if you miss a survey, which does happen, right? Because there's a lot of classes here. There's going to be time for you after CEwire ends for you to actually take the survey later. You'll get an email about it, and I'll actually bring it up right here so you can see it. There's going to be a special link where you can go to get to the old surveys. So if you missed one, you just click on the name of the class and it'll pop open the appropriate survey for you. This page also has links directly to handouts as well, and the discussion thread about each class, right? So I just opened up the one for Ben and opioids here, right? So this is a great sort of backdoor that always exists, this survey page, so CEwire.com/survey. So you can always get at this information if you need it. So don't feel like you're, so for instance, like we always allot time for people at the end to take one of these surveys. We give at least 5 minutes, but probably longer, right? Because if a lecture's short, you'll have more time to take it at the end. So usually there's like maybe almost 10 minutes to take a survey, which is way more than you need to finish it and go get a drink. But if for some reason you don't finish the survey, they're always here for you at that link. And we're going to send you an email reminding you of that link and where to go if you've missed a survey. So yeah, don't worry about that at all.
So yes, I was going to say that you can exit out to take the survey, but you don't want to do that while the class is still ongoing.
Yeah.
If for some reason you missed the pop-up, Adam showed you where the link is right under the talk, like the video player. But you can always access the surveys after the class. The big thing is don't leave the classroom until the speaker says, thank you very much. And you see pop up with some information about where to go to get things, because if you leave the classroom, you might not get your credit if you aren't in there for the required amount of time.
Right. And in fact, in the beginning, when we built the system, Arbo was asking me very pointed questions like, how do you know people are sticking around and actually watching? And I'm like, well, I guess we're going to have to figure that out. And so the way we figured it out was we built timers into the software where it's actually watching you watch the thing, not watching you, but like counting, right? It can see, it doesn't watch you. I promise. Look, the light's not on your camera. No, so it just counts, right? It counts the amount of time you're spending in each classroom. And it adds that to so once it reaches a certain threshold, right, you've made it to minute 50, you're good. And then it counts it as being complete. And then if you take the survey, it also counts that as being complete. And when both of those things are complete, it then knows this should be added to the person's transcript. So that's how it works. So yeah.
It's a good question, though, to ask about where to go and get the survey. And it seems pretty cut and dried to us, but you haven't been into any of the rooms yet. So of course it doesn't make sense to you yet.
Right. And I think a lot of people
all day.
Yep. Yeah, we'll be here all day. And I think a lot of people have questions about this too, because there are very few pieces of software purpose built to meet Arbo's standards. So a lot of times when you'll do a CE lecture online, you're using software that was really never meant for this purpose. So that's why different providers have different procedures and things. They're trying to sort of hammer the software into something that would be marginally acceptable to Arbo, right? So they have these different techniques for you to prove that you were there, or you have to say, I'm here, or whatever. Like I see that a lot, right? Where people have to, you don't have to do that with us, right? It's just counting that you're here. It has a timer. So,
but you will still see people say, hi, I'm Gretchen from, Philadelphia.
Right.
You
Yep.
don't need to prove you're here. We know.
No, you don't have to prove it, but I understand why people do though, right? Because they're nervous, because that's how a lot of other platforms work, because they weren't purpose built for Arbo, like this one was. So, yeah. Yep, but you'll get it. It's funny. Most people, like after the first couple of hours and they start to get into a flow with it, then it's like second nature and they never have to think about it again. So,
right.
Yeah. I mean, the only huge problems that people have, and I'm not going to say huge, is if your software sometimes doesn't automatically start the next lecture, right? So it's very difficult actually to get a web browser to start a new video. It sounds like a dumb problem, but it's not just us actually that has this problem, right? Being able to automatically start a video you can see right here, we have 14 hours, 31 minutes, 46 seconds until this particular lecture starts. But then the question is, like, when the clock hits 0, how do you actually get that lecture started, right? This is not an obvious thing. And so the software has to, in some way kick your browser to let it know it's time to start the new video. And it's not 100%. Like 99.9% of the time it works and it'll automatically roll onto this class. Sometimes, though, there are rare cases where it doesn't. And if you notice that it's like 10 minutes after 10 or whatever, and the lecture was supposed to start, like, how come this isn't starting? You can just hit refresh on your browser, right? Hit the refresh button, and it should just start it for you automatically after you hit refresh. So never feel like hitting refresh is a bad thing. It's not going to hurt your lecture. It's not going to not give you credit. Refresh is always a good thing. If you have any doubt about what's going on, hit refresh in the room that you're in, because it'll immediately get you to the very latest about what's going on in that room, even if your browser was being painful and not actually working the way it should. So yeah,
refresh is actually the first step that we offer to anyone whenever there's a question. If it's a sound problem, if it's your video not starting, anything like that, refreshing is always the best thing to do.
Yep. And again, this is a very common problem, not just with us, but with all web platforms and all programming. So again, I mentioned before, I watch a lot of MLB, a lot of baseball. And there have been times in their app where I swear to God, in between innings, the commercials are running. And I'm like, God, it seems like the commercials have been running for a really long time. Right? And it's 5 minutes later, and it's like, how come the game hasn't started again? Why do I keep getting the same commercial, for Wawa or whatever? Like, what the hell's going on here? And then I'm like, oh, it got itself stuck in a loop. It can't actually start the video that I want, which is the game. So you just refresh it, and there it is. The game suddenly appears again. So again, this is a common problem that everyone has. Browsers generally don't like auto-playing video for reasons that I'm sure everyone appreciates, right? Because auto-playing video typically is, it's a way to show people commercials, right? It's annoying stuff that you don't want usually when you go to a website. And so browsers have worked very hard to prevent auto-playing stuff from actually working properly. So to actually work around it is really challenging. So Apple is the worst offender or the best offender, I guess, depending on what you're watching. I mean, I appreciate the functionality usually, right? Depending on what site I'm on. You go to like a news site or whatever, and they want to try to bombard you with video that you did not ask for.
Right.
Or like the weather channel. Oh my God, the weather channel. Like, what are you doing? Yes. I just want a forecast, and I don't want the rest of this stuff. I don't care what's I want to know what's going on here. Like, you don't have to tell me
for it. I mean, they're really like pushing their premium, so they're going to shove these ads, these videos down your throat.
Yeah. So I appreciate what browsers try to do, but from a CEwire perspective, it makes it a little bit challenging for us sometimes. So I guess the moral of the story is they'll just hit refresh and it'll go.
Well, that was your question that you asked 10 minutes ago, Melissa, and we're
a little long-winded.
We answered it, or do you have any other questions? Or anyone else who has just popped in? We're good for answering questions, probably more than you really wanted to know.
Yes, seriously. So one other question that people ask if they've never taken CEwire before, we have 75 hours, as you know, across all these 4 tracks this weekend. It's the same 75 hours that you're going to get at the other, I guess we have one more live weekend after this one. It's the same 75 hours, at these, let me bring it up so people can see. At the other live conferences. And again, we're going to try to actually put these lectures at a similar or same time at the next conference in September. So you'll be able to actually maximize the number of credits that you get, which is really important for people, right? They want to maximize the number of credits. So we have people who will take all 75 hours live. They'll actually go, like some people literally will just sit through room 1, room 2, room 3, room 4. They'll come 4 times essentially to try to get all the credits. So that's a thing that people do. But we try to make the schedule as similar as possible, very much like a Broadway play, just so you can maximize the number of credits that you get. So that's important to know.
Anybody else who's here hanging out? Are you new? First time here? CEwire newbie? We're glad to have you, and thanks for joining us tonight. do you have any questions that we can answer for you in great detail? Or any classes that anybody's looking forward to taking that you didn't get any other time at any of the previous live events if you've been here before?
I can plug some if you want, because so part of my, job here is setting everything up technically, obviously, but also pushing all the lectures through Arbo and then actually creating the video. Oh my goodness. What is that monster I see? Who do we have here today?
This is Huck.
There's Huck.
I don't know if you can see him given the, he's growling. He's not happy.
Oh, he's not happy. Huck does not like CEwire.
Well, we've had cat unhappiness here today because Pip had to go back to the vet to get some tests done because he did not cooperate last week. He had to be heavily drugged.
Oh.
So Huck interrupted what you were trying to say,
Oh,
and he
right.
says he's sorry.
So yeah, I mean, I could plug a few lectures here if you want. So I had to sit through all of these, right? Because actually create the videos, when the speakers get them back to me, then I have to actually go to work on them and make sure that they all look and sound good. Check them for length and content as well. So I've sat through most of these, and obviously we tried to give a really diverse slate of topics so people can choose what they want to see and not endure stuff that they hate. But some of the really interesting ones that are kind of different, Julie Robbins' talk on GLP-1 drugs, really interesting, right? Just because you think, GLP-1, who cares? Like, everyone kind of knows what they are and how they work. But it is interesting to learn about them in the context of vision and how they can actually be dangerous, in some ways when people are starting therapy. So, because you're getting such great swings of blood sugar, which you don't really think about. So there are definitely things to look out for with people who are initiating this therapy, particularly if they're already diabetic. Now, these days, 4 out of 5 people who you see who are taking these drugs do not have diabetes, right? Or not overt diabetes, but they still could have some visual complications. So it's a really interesting lecture. So I'd recommend, if you don't know too much about GLP-1 drugs, definitely go in. She covers the GIP drugs as well, right? I think there's only 1 or 2 of them right now that are available. That are combo products. And I saw that a third drug was just in trials and I think is going to get approved that is a third agent mixed in.
Oh,
so
really?
And the third agent apparently makes it even more effective than just having 2 in terms of weight loss. So it's I think it's some sort of thermogenic agent. I don't remember, but it works synergistically with the other 2. So that should be coming to our shelves probably within the next year, I would guess. Judging the speed.
I haven't watched Julie's lecture. I know that there are a bunch of places that offer these drugs on a compounding basis. And I'm wondering, do you remember, does she address that?
I don't remember that she actually talks about the, how people obtain it. I mean, you can basically obtain these. I went to my GP actually for a physical the other day, and I asked her, I'm like, so what, what's the deal here? And she's like, oh yeah, about 50% of people will ask me for a GLP-1 of her
50%?
patients. Yep.
Wow.
And she's like, yeah, she's like, I spend so much of my time now talking to people about this particular class of drugs because it is so popular. And I think the stats are like 1 in 8 people right now take them. So they're very easy to obtain, and I think that's why this lecture is so useful too, because you will have, if you see a certain number of patients every day, a certain fraction of them will be taking these meds, and particularly for the diabetic ones, though, you need to know sort of the complications that you might run into just due to the large swings in their blood sugar, especially when they initiate therapy, because these are very effective drugs. Like these. There are very few drugs that are like wonder drugs or miracle drugs. These probably count in terms of drugs that just absolutely change the equation for people managing diabetes and their weight. So, yeah, that's definitely good to know about.
Absolutely. I'll have to watch that and see if she does mention anything specifically about compounded
Yep.
medications.
Yeah, so that was a really cool one. Srini's lectures are always great because he's hilarious. And, you like to keep it interesting, right? His two talks are actually really fun about wet AMD, and you wouldn't think that would be fun, but it kind of is. And then the other one,
Srini makes everything fun.
Srini makes everything fun, and he's a retinologist by trade. And so the other one is a day of OCTs in his office. So that's a really cool one too, where he does some interpretation for you. So another really fun one to watch. So definitely check him out. We have some newer speakers, some younger speakers too, which is fun. Ada No talks about systemic disease, which is also a really cool one. Highly recommended if you want to sort of get some new blood. We're always on the lookout for younger folk, right? It's so important to try to engage people. And so, yeah, if you know of good speakers, by the way, we're always looking for new people, just to keep the rotation going.
Absolutely. You don't always want to see the same people over and over. And given that there are 75 credits here, it's easy for us to get some new folks in. And we do try to have that, at least a few new people each time.
This one was perfect too, the Gen Z one, because my son, he was sitting there, he's in high school, he's sitting there watching it with me, and he was just covering his eyes. The Gen Z ones are so funny. Like one of them, we have two Gen Z lectures, actually. We have this one, and then Toy gives one Kayla as well. Yeah, Toy Land. Yeah, so yeah, that was Kayla's, and then Land gives a one as well. And these are both really fun lectures. I know that for many people, you can't get practice management credit, which really stinks, and I wish more boards would allow it. But if you have the spare time, taking these, because they're actually really interesting from a practice management perspective, to know what you don't know about what's going on with Gen Z.
Well, those might be good classes to watch on demand if you really need to use your live slots for clinical credit. These classes are still very much worth your time. It's good information. Adam, was Reed cringing the entire time?
100% cringing, eyes closed, couldn't believe it. Lands was actually even funnier because she'd stop like in different parts for a vocabulary check where she would use an expression, and Reed was just melting into the chair. He's like, that is the cringiest thing I've ever seen. And I'm like, well, dude, it was supposed to be.
Everybody knows that. And
no, it's not that. It's that no person her age should actually be saying those words. And so it was making him uncomfortable. And now to torture him, I do the same. So there you go.
Did you see, I think it was last year, there was a keynote speaker at a school, and he gave his talk. I think it was a high school, or maybe it was a middle school, but he gave his talk entirely in Gen Z speak. It was funny, and he did it on purpose to get the kids to react. And I watched a short clip of it. I'll have to find it. It was really funny. And I think it was in my area. It was actually a Quaker school.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah, I think it was at Westtown. I'll have to look for that. But the kids were laughing, and they were all paying attention, which really is the object of the exercise.
Yeah.
If you are talking to young students like that, I mean, your talk could be the best, but if they don't care, don't want to hear it, they tune out. They were listening.
That's really interesting. I wouldn't be brave enough to do something like that. So kudos to that speaker.
I forget who it is. I'm going to find the link for it.
That's so funny. Yeah, I mean, I use, if I use maybe two different vocabulary words, it's enough for Reed to shoot me a look like, never say that again. Never let that come out of your mouth, old man.
What did you say? Do you remember?
I don't even remember. I mean, I was just going at it, and then he calls me Poochie, and then that's the end. So,
well, just tell him 6'7".
Yeah, 6'7", right? No, but he calls me Poochie, and it's over because even he knows the old Simpsons stuff because I make him watch it. So he's like, "Yeah, you are not.
I don't even know what Poochie
You're
is.
not appealing to the youth." It was an episode of The Simpsons where Homer basically does voice work for a cartoon, and this cartoon studio wants to create a new character that's cool. And so they had the network executive. The network executive comes up with what he thinks is cool, right? And he's an old dude who smokes a cigar, and it's the most cringy. like a surfer dog that wears sunglasses and like smokes like it's just like a whole thing. He's wearing the flannel. It's horrible. And yes, so don't be poochy, I guess is the key.
That's funny.
Uh,
Well, we've been quiet here for a few minutes.
Yep.
I think we've lost some of the people who were here watching before. Let's see if we have anybody new. Melissa asked her question more than 20 minutes ago. I see a couple of new names there. So we were blabbing for a few minutes. Anybody new? First time at CE Wire. Let us know. Do you have any questions? Do you know how it all works? We're happy to go through it and tell you all about it. Say hi. So we know we aren't just talking into the ether here. I wonder if some folks log in here and just hear us blathering on and then just they don't
yeah, I mean
even
that's
exit out of the room. They just
let me be clear though, Gretchen, that's what I would do.
Yeah.
100%.
Okay,
I wouldn't.
Poochie.
I mean, I'm Poochie. No, I wouldn't stick around here for sure. I mean, if you can hear us and you asked your question, you don't have anything else, go. I mean, you actually achieved what you set out to do. You logged in, right? And it works. So yeah, I wouldn't stay here all night either. This is way too boring.
True. So we'll throw it out there. Questions, anyone?
And in fact, I'll probably kill this whole thing in the next maybe half hour. No reason for us to stay to the bitter end. I don't think we're going to get too many other people trying to log into it.
Well, you never know. It is what, 4:45?
Yeah, so the West Coast folks are all getting home from work very soon, so that's why we keep it open a little bit past 5, and yeah. Yep. Yeah, this is a difficult conference for people on the West Coast, I just have to tell you. I know that it's hard for us to do it any other way because we don't want people necessarily staying here until midnight or whatever on the East Coast. But it is tough sometimes to actually get up early enough to get to the very early ones here. I mean, at the very least, people don't have to go anywhere, which is good, right? They can just roll, into
Just
their...
get your coffee. You don't even need to get a shower and get dressed.
Yep.
We
Yeah.
don't care.
Yeah.
We aren't getting showers and getting dressed. So
No, I mean, I think the person who suffers most is me, right? Because I have to get up to set everything up at whatever it is here, 4:30.
Yeah, I can't bitch, although I will, but I really can't. Adam, one thing, have you ever thought about going to 5 rooms instead of 4?
So this is something we have discussed, right? If we did 5 rooms, though, I would feel compelled to do 5 events, which is not, could be done because you want people to be able to maximize their credits, right? You want people to get as many live credits as they can, and that's the thing, right? If with 4 events and 4 rooms, people in theory can get all of their credits, right? So I would feel compelled to do an extra event, and that just gets a little bit challenging, right? Because then you need to have the speakers come back. It's obviously expensive. I don't think people necessarily understand how much this actually costs to run every time we do it. It is not cheap.
Let me ask you this. It is not physically possible to get every credit at an in-person meeting unless it's just general session. So why would you feel compelled for 5 times? I mean, you certainly can, but you aren't obligated to. You
I don't know.
might
I think
want to examine that.
I mean, it's just my OCD talking, I guess. I don't know. I would feel like if I could get the 75 credits, I would try. I don't know. Yeah, so probably just this is more in my head than anything else, but I kind of would feel like I'd be shortchanging people a little bit if we did it that way, but it might work. I don't know.
I don't think you'd be shortchanging them. I think that you would be offering additional choice, and it would, well, maybe not. I mean, if you went, I guess what I'm saying is instead of going from dawn till dusk, you could go 5 rooms and
We
maybe lop off 2 hours from each day,
Sure. But again, I'd feel compelled to do a 5th lecture. I don't know. We'll have to see. I mean, it's an interesting...
I mean, I thought I'd toss it out there.
No, I mean, I thought about it a lot too, but then I thought I'd have to do a 5th one. And the reason for doing such a long day is because it's easier for me, less abusive. I mean, the whole experience is abusive of getting up at 4 a.m. and then sticking it out all day and everything else. But it's easier to do a fixed number of sessions, like 4 sessions. I'd rather do that than spread it out. Because somebody actually asked me, like, why don't you just do a bunch of these things throughout the year, right? And do them once a week and have a few hours, and like it's much more. It's right. And someone actually suggested that, but they don't understand how much work that actually is, right? Like spinning up the machinery and getting it all running. If I do it 10 hours, it feels about the same as doing it 8, right? To me, it's the same. The extra 2 hours is meaningless. But if I had to do this once a week, I would be dead. 100%. I wouldn't be here right now. Even once a month would actually be a lot. Right, it gets to be a lot, especially with all the other stuff we do with ODwire as well, with the webinars and stuff. Going live is challenging, right? Because you're coordinating a lot of stuff, and it's a challenge to do live and do a live video. It's hard. So yeah, it would start monopolizing all of my time. Remember when CEwire first started? This was something that we did 1 or 2 live events a year, right? It was usually in like February and April or something like that, or February and June or something. We'd get it over with, right? And it would be short and 2 and done. And then I wouldn't have to think about it for months and we could relax. But then COVID happened. Right. And that was 12 times that year. And then, we've backed off now to 4 because that feels like I can do it without dying, but it's still a lot of work. There's no downtime anymore, right? It's just a constant go, and it's hard. It's stressful. So that's why we do it this way. I'd much rather crank out a few long days than just spread it out over many, many days.
Well, that makes sense. Yeah. Just had a different thought and wondering if that would make a difference for you.
Yeah, no, I mean, getting up a couple hours early, who cares, right? I mean, I can, as long as I have enough coffee, I'll be fine. I worry about other people who might be like, oh man, I'm not waking up at 7 a.m. to take a class. That's crazy. But then, of course, people on the West Coast, I think, are much more used to it, of having to get up earlier for things, because it happens, right? It's just the way we work here a lot of the time. When you deal with people in other time zones, almost always, unless you're dealing with Asia, it means you're getting up early. So.
Well, I guess it's just another way for those of us on the East Coast to feel superior to you poor slobs on the West Coast.
Yeah. I mean, it's an interesting thing, right? We get the reputation of being lazy, but that's just because we're 3 hours behind. We're still asleep, right? Like Steve will send me a bunch of emails, and it's like he probably just thinks I'm slacking off, but no, like legitimately, I'm actually asleep right now.
Yeah, that's true. So we've had a couple of people drop off. Nobody, Richard did say he was still listening, which we appreciate. Anybody else who's out there? Any questions? Anything that isn't clear? Do you want to know more about Gen Z terminology or The Simpsons or my cat?
Yeah, what are we going to talk about tomorrow?
Cruise conversation earlier.
We did. We have different topics to talk about tomorrow, though, which is good. So we'll get into a bunch of things. Not just my hatred of AI, by the way. We'll get into that a little bit too, because I saw that my state finally did something good for us. So around electricity, which I'm very grateful for. So we can talk about that.
I've been seeing things from our governor here in Pennsylvania who's looking into that, and I think that's going to be happening around a lot of states, and especially because it'll be a conversation because more of these data centers are popping up and it's becoming part of the national conversation. And not for nothing, we also have midterm elections coming up this year. So
yeah, I mean, Oregon's kind of a special case because, maybe I think we're sort of the sentinel of all this because we had more data centers to begin with. Like Oregon typically had cheap electricity, right? Because hydroelectric is our big thing, right? We have this gigantic dam. Right there. And so our electricity has always been cheap. So this was attractive to companies like Amazon and Facebook and all these others and Google. And so they started building these massive data centers right along the river. And that, for regular data centers to push stuff like CEwire, that's great. And it works fine. And those scale reasonably well. Still not great. But the whole AI nonsense really made it all came to a head. My electric bill's probably doubled over the past few years since
Wow.
2022. And so people, Oregon's a state that's actually rather small, right? We don't have that many people here. The Portland metro area is where most of us live, and there's only like 2 million people, maybe less. So when we get pissed off, right, there's the effect is very direct. It's not like a giant state where people have to talk about these problems and nothing ever gets done and whatever else, right? Enough people were pissed here that the legislature actually said this is not happening anymore. So you can build your data centers, but you're going to be paying 30% more for electricity to do it. And oh, by the way, you poor schmucks who have been paying the bill, we're going to reduce your electric rates, at least a token amount by like 1 or 2% or something this year. So that's what they did. So people can still build data centers here, but they're going to be paying for it, right? As opposed to having us subsidize what they're doing. And I think Oregon was just able to get it done faster because we were kind of in the unfortunate leading edge of this. We have 140 data centers here, which think about the size of our state. We're tiny.
140?
Yeah, we're tiny, right? But we have 140, right? Because Intel has a huge presence here too. So this started impacting us a little bit even before everyone else. And so they just put the kibosh on it all, which is great because our electric company, who apparently is it's a state-sanctioned monopoly, but they can do whatever they want, apparently. They were going to keep going the way they were going. Like, screw you guys, we're just going to keep raising your rates. And that's when the legislature stepped in and said, that's it, we're done. Electric company, this is what you're doing. And you're going to, help the people who actually need the electricity. And if the data centers want to come, that's great, but expect you're going to pay at least 30% more for your power data center. So
So do you have all of those because you're so relatively close to where all of these companies are located? Like you've got them, you're smushed in between north and south.
yeah, so
That was part of it?
the river's right there. So the hydroelectric electricity was and is still fairly cheap relative to other states. That's why they started. We also have a lot of, this is a tech corridor here, right?
Yeah.
Smushed in between Washington and California, and we have a lot of tech here as well. Intel's headquarters are here for their chip development, right? In fact, I should take a good picture to show you guys tomorrow, like just how stupid data centers actually are. So where Intel is, which is in a town called Hillsboro, which is a suburb of Portland. I have my Hillsboro Hops hat here. So the Hops is our local minor league baseball team right there in Hillsboro. So it's, local to us. But that's where Intel's headquarters are. And they built a bunch of data centers there. And you always think like, oh, data centers it's great. Economic activity, it's going to bring jobs. Well, they got tax credits, so they're not paying any taxes for these freaking things. And if you actually drive by the data centers, they're located like, right next to like a Topgolf, that place where you go and you drive things and you eat nachos and stuff, right? It's like a fun center for people who just want to, hit some golf balls. I swear to you that the parking lot for the Topgolf is actually bigger than the parking lot for the damn data centers because the data centers have no employees. They have like 12 people that are running the whole thing, right? You have like a janitor and then some IT guys who like fix things when they break, but it's just like no jobs. So yeah, you had the construction jobs, but since these things are built, all they do is just sit there and suck down electricity. So it's like, yeah. So I think people are finally becoming a little bit more aware of the real cost of this. And if they don't want to build here, that's fine. They can build somewhere else, right? If the 30% increase is too high for them, I'm sure they will. They're going to try building elsewhere, right? But, data centers don't really do much, if anything, for the communities that they're located in. So to wit, right? CEwire that you're using right now, my main server for this one is in Chicago, I'm thinking. That main one that you guys hit when you log in, that one's in Chicago. It's remote to me. Like, sure, they built a data center here in Hillsboro. I could use it, but why would I? Right? It doesn't make a difference. We're maybe adding like 5 milliseconds extra time to ping off the one in Chicago. So there's no local benefit to any data center that's built. It's being used by people all over the world, not necessarily the local community. So, yeah. So there's that. There's no employees. Like, it's ridiculous.
I found this website called electricchoice.com, and I'm on a subpage /data centers, and it's telling me by power consumption, the top state for power consumption is Virginia, and Oregon is number 8. But if I go to facility count, Virginia is still number 1, and Oregon goes to number 9. This is interesting.
Right, and I mean we're a very small state, right? So to be number 9, and there's a town called Prineville. So Prineville is like way far south of here. It's in the high desert, and you're like, what the hell is this? Like, why would you do this? They built massive data centers. Facebook built this. I mean, imagine like. If you've ever seen the movie Idiocracy, the Costco that's like 20 Costcos all lined up, like that's what it looks like. It is just this huge thing in the middle of the desert, and it's like, well, why is it there? The land was cheap, right? The power, I guess, was cheap, and the connectivity was good to California and everywhere else. So that's why they put it there.
So it says here, the major hubs and operators are Hillsborough, Prineville, the Dalles.
The Dalles, yeah. So the Dalles is right on the river.
Oh,
That's
Dalles.
where the Dalles. So that's right on the river. That's where Google has their big data center, and Amazon.
And they list the 3 big operators are Apple, Meta, and Google.
Yeah, but if you look, like, we can get into this tomorrow. I don't know if anyone's bored by this or not. I just find it really interesting because it's very theoretical for a lot of people, but for us, this is actually not theoretical at all. This is Hillsborough, and this is right where my Topgolf is. In fact, when you're hitting golf balls at Topgolf, what do you see around you? Right, these are the data centers, and you can see like data centers and things and Intel and. But you can see, like, relative to Topgolf, there's just these huge things that have nothing. There's just nothing there. It's
You actually go to Topgolf?
occasionally. I mean, it's a fun. I'm not a golfer, but it's like a place where you can go and eat nachos. No judgment. So yeah. But yeah, I just find it.
That's why I asked.
Oh, it's fun. Yeah, you don't have to be a golfer to like it. But anyway, my baseball team is here though. That's really why I'm out there a lot of the time. So my team's right there, but you can see like they have all these buildings and just no people, and it's just really weird. So, yeah.
Well, Melissa just pinged us in the chat saying this is all helpful info and thanking us for doing this. And we're glad that you and others are showing up to get this info and to listen to us blather about this. People I think are slowly dropping off. They're not, I don't see anybody new on here.
Nope.
But looking at this, back to this map showing everything in the states, this is really interesting.
Yeah, and it's sad too, because what's going to happen here is that they're going to start putting these places in places where the politicians are not as responsive, right? They're going to put it in areas, probably where they put it in Prineville actually for a lot of these, right? It's the desert, no one was there. They probably just greased somebody's palm. And it was very easy for them to open these things. But now that Oregon's become like treacherous for these things, right, with a 30% increase in power, they're going to find other states to go into. And that's fine. We don't really need these data centers.
You know what? The number of data centers there are, I had no idea there were this many. The state with the fewest is Alaska, and it has 5.
Alaska probably has very poor connectivity, which is I can understand why they would have very few.
Vermont has 5. Let's see. Wait, why are they? Oh, that's by consumption. Okay. Number of facility count. Sorry, I was on the wrong chart. So let me go
Right.
back.
And the other thing is, though, these data centers are not all created equal, right? So the actual count doesn't really tell you. It's what's going on inside them that matters. So that's the other thing. So AI is incredibly wasteful and costly, right? The servers that they're using use so much power, it almost defies belief, right? A single, Blackwell AI server will draw a couple thousand watts, right? Always, like as long as it's switched on, it's going to draw thousands upon thousands of watts, like enough electricity. If you tried to actually plug it into an outlet at home, it would blow it out. Whereas like a regular
Vermont
server
is on the ball. Vermont has only 5 as well. West Virginia has 8. Maine, Hawaii. I would think it would be hella expensive in Hawaii. And Rhode Island all have 8. South Dakota has 10. But I mean, I am stunned that some of these, I mean, like I said, Virginia has the highest, 665.
I mean, that's not a surprise to me with the federal government being sort of headquartered there, right? So
400 in Texas.
Yep, and that's not a surprise either, right? Cheap land, right? Relatively cheap power, I would guess.
320 in California. Ohio. Wow.
Yep.
Yeah.
So,
It's kind of crazy. Interesting, but
but again,
crazy.
they're not all created equal. Like the servers that host CEwire and ODwire use a fraction of the power of something like an AI server, right? They're very easy to serve. Um, so yeah, it's just different.
Yeah, you're not wrong that they do different things. Some of them are sucking up natural resources and some of them aren't, at least not as horrific. Hmm.
Anyway, that was my news of the day here.
We live to serve here at CE Wire.
I mean, it pisses me off because, it's also made CEwire more expensive. We haven't passed the cost on to anybody at CEwire. You've noticed we've kept the prices like stable for the last 10 years. I don't know how much longer we can do this because the actual cost of hosting has gone through the roof, right? As electricity's gotten more expensive and data centers have gotten more expensive, our upstream providers are now starting to charge more. And that becomes
Yeah.
a problem. So, our choice is either charging people more or trying to just get as big an audience as we can. So tell your friends, right? If you want to keep the cost of this conference down, we need
Yeah,
as
bring
many
more
people as
people.
possible.
Oh, hey, I heard about this somewhere else and I'm seeing it on this website. Microsoft is going to use part of 3 Mile Island that had been out of use.
The part that
Interesting.
melted.
All it says here is historic deal to restart 3 Mile Island Unit 1 exclusively for Microsoft data center power. And you
See,
know that I'm
I don't think
from
it's going
that
to happen.
area.
Yeah, good luck. Enjoy.
No,
Get
I
ready
meant
to
when I was a
flee.
child. I was
Oh,
even
and,
closer than now.
oh, really? Oh, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think a lot of the stuff is actually going to happen. That's my one take is that the bubble's going to burst before any of this gets online, which will be great because we're already seeing cracks. The bubble is close to bursting already, so a lot of the stuff is just not going to be economical to run and won't get built.
Yeah. Well, I guess we'll see. I guess we will see. Actually, no. I think I'm closer now than I was as a kid. Now I'm looking at the map. I'm about equidistant, I'd say.
I guess
But it's near
does the
Harrisburg.
wind blow in your direction? I guess it does, doesn't it, from west to east? So,
Yeah, I vaguely remember that when I was a kid. Good times, good times.
oh my god.
And let's see, nobody else has chimed in. Anybody new? Anybody here hanging out? Anybody have any questions? Or do you want to hear us blather on about data center power?
I can tell you something better though about nuclear power if anybody cares. One of the coolest things I've seen in the Pacific Northwest, should anybody ever come here? Nobody ever comes here, right? But if you come here on vacation and you're just touring around, there is a half-built nuclear power plant that they never finished. They put over $1 billion into it. I guess this was in the late 70s or early 80s. And then they stopped. And so the cooling tower is
Probably right
there.
after 3 Mile Island.
I would imagine, but the cooling tower is there and you can actually go inside of it. It's just like there and open and huge and you can walk inside of it. Which is like, for urban explorers, it's kind of scary actually. If you're scared of large things, this is yeah.
Well, there's another power plant that was in my town, essentially, where I went to high school. And every Monday, no, first Monday of the month at 2 o'clock, they would do a test of whatever their stuff was. And I do remember my senior year sitting in AP English, like, oh crap, it's that time again, because we would hear the huge siren thing go off. Um, so that one was very close too. But I remember I have this vague memory. I was a kid. It was some Girl Scout thing that I did, and I remember it was some place that we went, and I remember you could ride a bike to try and generate power, and it was like touting the benefits of nuclear power because of how much it could do and how little it cost and this, that, and it was like this walkthrough thing. And now it's bugging me that I don't know where that was because I don't think we didn't
Let
go
me
to
guess,
Three
not.
Mile
Let
Island,
me guess, not
but
far from 3 Mile Island, though, where it was a
yeah.
propaganda museum to get people to not be so scared, probably.
Yeah, I remember that it was very instructive and it was, I mean, it was pure propaganda as those things are, but it was explaining a lot of that stuff.
Yeah, so if
Yeah,
you're
so
ever
that
in
was
Washington State and you're driving to Portland, not far from here, it's like, what the hell is that? And then you can go right up to, you can go inside of it. I mean, it's like, holy shit, like that's a full cooling tower from a nuclear power plant. Like,
and
why
I'm
is
so
this?
used to seeing that.
Yeah, you're used to it, but I'm like, what? It's like, this is like 400 feet tall. Like, what is this doing here? And then you learn the history of it and you realize they wasted $3 billion for reasons.
Yep.
Yeah,
Well, mine is in Limerick, Pennsylvania. That's the one near where that was technically the township over from my town. And yeah, you can
crazy.
when you're on the big highway, you can see it and you see the steam coming out of it.
That is really crazy. Yeah. I mean, I think nuclear is probably going to make a little bit of a comeback, but I think a lot of this data center nonsense really, you're going to have a lot of laser tag, as we like to say, right? That's what all these
A
places are going
lot
to be
of
used for.
laser tag.
That's what they're going to be used for eventually. It's going to be a Spirit Halloween / laser tag. That's what all the data centers are going to be turned into because there's no other economic use for them. Once all the servers leave, they're just big empty warehouses because they've built a lot of these things. But to actually put the server racks into them, each one of those little computers, those server rack mount machines, is $50,000 or more. And you think about the size of these places, I don't think they're ever going to turn a profit. I don't see how they will. So
Hmm.
it's very difficult, and the machines themselves are not useful for anything other than AI stuff. So you can't even repurpose them like you could with general purpose computers, like we could in the .com crash. So yeah, I don't know.
Mm-mm-mm. Well, we're just all sunshine and rainbows here at CE Wire.
I
I'm guessing anybody who's here has already pieced on out.
mean, look at this nonsense. Like, if you just wanted to try to get a Blackwell card for your PC,
Are you going down a rabbit hole?
I am kind of because I was curious. So sure, why not?
What is that?
That is a video card. So it's an
Are they
NVIDIA.
supposed to be that expensive? Wait, one is 300 bucks,
Well, so
one is
okay,
5,000 bucks, and one
so
is
this is fraud, right? An actual Blackwell 6000 CPU. This is about right. 13,000 is about right. This plugs into a PC. So it's a video card, right? You can actually see the display ports right here, but
so
it's also
13,000 is about the right cost.
for something that can do inference like this AI inference, right? With however many, it has 96 gigs or something on it.
Oh,
Um,
B&H Photo, they're legit.
Yeah, so this is a real thing, but like the only people who would need this is if they want to do local AI on their own computers and not use like OpenAI or Anthropic or whatever. But again, the problem with these cards, besides the fact that they're $13,000, is that they draw so much power that I would have a hard time. Yeah, so it's got 96 gigs of RAM, which is a lot for a video card. I don't even know how much power this one draws. I have a feeling it's going to be a scary amount.
Mm.
Like enough that I'd. So let's see. Oh, 300 watts. So that's not as bad as I thought it would be. Oh,
Crazy, crazy.
yeah. But the real ones that go into racks, those are closer to like $30,000 or $40,000.
Wow. That's a lot of scratch.
Yep. Get a used one. Anyway, hopefully this will all come to an end soon.
Hmm.
Well, I'm not seeing too many new people here.
Nope.
Maybe we'll give it another like 10 minutes and then take off for the evening, and I can get ready and set up for tomorrow.
You have your coffee ready to go for tomorrow?
I am all ready. 100%.
I have, I'm going to set my alarm because I go to the farmer's market and it is strawberry season. So
Yeah, it
I will be
started.
there right when they open.
That's awesome. So what time are you going to be back here, you think?
By 9:30, I should
Okay.
think, unless I
Okay.
run into trouble
Yeah,
or a
whatever.
few minutes after.
No worries if you run into trouble. It's fine. Yeah, farmer's market tomorrow. Meredith is going to bring me back some stuff. It's a little bit early here for us, actually, for a lot of the produce, so it's not as good as it could be yet, but soon.
Well, our strawberries were really early last year. So this will be the third week that we've had them. So I think they're going to be petering out soon.
Mm.
I actually get really excited. Oh, Richard has a question. We are going to be here at 9:30 tomorrow morning, 9:30 Eastern, and we will be here to chit chat and say good morning to everyone before classes start at 10 a.m. Eastern. So if you have any trouble, come right back to the lobby. This is where we'll be.
Or 6:30. I
Yeah, I was
mistyped.
going to say.
Sorry, I'm tired already. I got to try to get to sleep tonight, I guess. That would be a good idea.
Melissa has a question about the color codes for the classes. I think you just did that to differentiate. I don't think you did anything to, like, a glaucoma class is blue or something.
Yeah, no, that was just me, differentiating so you could easily tell the classes apart. So yeah, the colors don't actually mean anything. The only thing that means anything actually is the DEA logo that I put on a couple of them. So if you see like the red DEA guy up here, that just means that is good for DEA credit, right? If you have to renew your narcotics license with the DEA, you can use those classes.
And if you want to know what topic a class falls into, right at the end of the COPE number, you can see that there is the abbreviation for the topics that COPE has assigned, like pharmacology, and I just totally blanked on what some of them might
So
be.
glaucoma, so you have glaucoma, you have surgical stuff.
Therapeutic
Yeah, you have
indices.
neuro. Yep.
Yeah.
So there's all these fun different topics. So yeah, that's so you can kind of figure out what it is. Some of them are like generic though. If it's GO, that means that's like a garbage can. They couldn't figure out where to put it, so they're like, oh, let's just call it GO. General optometry. The reason it matters at all actually is because some states, like say California is a good example, have a certain number of credits of glaucoma that you have to do. So that's why we load up on a lot of the GL classes so people can get credit for that.
I think you figured out, Adam, that we have enough glaucoma credits for a California doc to meet his or her glaucoma requirement for the year.
Yep.
And there's also enough DEA credits for a doc to fulfill the DEA requirement as well.
Yep. And
So
that,
we do.
yeah, I was going to say the DEA one is interesting too because the DEA never really even asks like to see your certificates and stuff. You should always keep them, or we always keep them for you actually if you ever need them. I've never heard of anyone being audited by the DEA, to be honest with you. But they just ask you, did you take the classes, yes or no, when you're redoing your license. So I find that really interesting. It's almost like Scout's honor. But if you get audited, then you're screwed if you lie to them. So you really don't want to. But we keep your. Oh, that's another thing actually. If anybody's here that hasn't taken this before, if you get audited by your state and they have questions, send them over to me. I'm happy to help with that. Just send the auditors, give them my email address, support@CEwire.com or my personal email address or whatever. I'm always happy to actually talk to the board that's auditing you to get them out of your hair as fast as possible.
But not his phone number.
Yeah, not my phone number, but just email's the best way. And they like that too. They like communicating via email usually, but it's usually easier that way. If you're worried about it, just send them to me and I'll show them all the stuff and tell them what the classes were and so forth, so you don't have to deal with that nonsense. Yeah, it's very rare though that people get audited like that, where the auditor is such a stickler that they want more information.
Well, and this also too shows you that we do put time and effort and thought into the classes that we have because we look at what states require. So that's why for a few years we had human trafficking, for example, because a few states require that. And they don't require it every year, so we took a little break from it. It might be back next year or the year after. So we do take a look at what states are requiring and what we're able to offer to help you get as many credits as possible at CEwire if you're going to be here. And it's one price for all the classes, whether you take one or whether you take all however many. Why don't we just say credits? One, if you take all 75, it's the same amount of money. So why not try to give you as much bang for your buck as we can?
Yep, and it's funny, I got contacted by someone from Florida today, of all states. So Florida, we have a hate-hate relationship with the people who run that state because they refuse to allow any online credits to people who are licensed there, right? So Florida docs have to do virtually all of their stuff in person. I think they maybe allow like one credit or something to
Why
be done
bother if
online.
you're gonna have
Right.
one?
So, but somebody from Florida contacted me and asked, hey, do you offer any HIV stuff? And I'm like, well, why? So Florida has a requirement for like HIV, for medical errors, domestic violence, and I'm missing something else. But they have these requirements that all, maybe that was it too, because they have this requirement for like all healthcare professionals, right? And it's a generic thing. And in medicine, like they will actually mail you, like publishing companies will mail you a book with all the classes in them that you need, the quiz at the end of the book, of the packet, and then you just fill it out and you mail it back to them with $99 or something.
Oh my God. It's like pay
or you
for
take it
play.
online. Yeah, or you take it online and then you can answer the questions there and give them $99 and then they give you yours. And I'm thinking to myself, like, okay, I know medicine can do it that way. Can optometry do it that way for the compulsory credits that have nothing to do with optometry, but have to do with the state's requirements generally for healthcare professionals, right? Because this person asked me and I'm like, I have no idea.
That's a good question.
So I asked her to try to reach out to her board to figure it out because I'm not a licensee in Florida. They don't listen to me, right? Like if I contact them, they'll never get back to me. But if an actual licensee asked them that question, can I do these special ones online that all healthcare providers have to do? Then that might get a little more interesting to us. Like, well, we can't help people in Florida generally, but we can give them these 6 or 8 credits, right, that they might need online. And if they don't do it with us, they're going to have to pay for it somewhere. And I'm thinking the cost was like $99 just for those 6 credits. Trying to remember the last time I did it. So, yeah. So that might be worthwhile to do if people in Florida think they might want to go that route and try that with us, just like we did with the DEA, right? So if you have a Florida license and you have a DEA requirement, right, immediately you're making back your money on CEwire just on those particular classes. So, yeah.
That's just ridiculous.
Yeah.
Here, read this book, take this quiz with the questions right there. And
Yeah, that's how you do it, and everybody, of course, cheats, and you look at the back and you look at what the questions are before you even start reading the stupid things. So,
they're
yeah.
worried about some of the nonsense,
Right.
whatever.
Right, and these are serious topics, too. Right? This is like domestic violence and what you should do and who you should contact. And you don't want people necessarily speed reading through it or HIV or whatever.
I really don't understand rules or regulations that aren't enforced. I mean,
Yeah.
not that I'm after a police state or anything, but if something is important enough to have a regulation, then you need to follow through. It's like telling your kid not to eat cookies before dinner or whatever, and then not saying anything when your kid goes and opens a box of Oreos or something.
Yep. Yeah, I don't get it either. It's
That's why we're not in charge.
Yeah, I guess so. Meanwhile, though, it's almost 5:30 here. I think we should take off because I don't think we're getting too many more people coming in.
Okay.
I think we're at
Then
the
we
end.
will
So yeah, I guess we'll see everybody tomorrow. Thank you everyone for showing up and listening to this nonsense.
Yes, thank you for being here, and we will see you tomorrow.
All right, sounds good. So Gretchen, see you bright and early. Good luck at the farmer's market. I can't wait to hear what you actually get.
I will tell you.
All right.
See you later.